Welcome to the EST Hangout.
This is the EST Hangout, and today's guests are...
A good Tuesday morning to you. Welcome to the EST Hangout, presented by Two Hoots Hard Iced Tea, a bolder, real brewed tea. Don't just give a hoot, give two. Matt Iwanyk, Tom Gazzola, Lieutenant Eric with you here on Edmonton Sports Talk.com. Tune in iHeartRadio as well as those watching on YouTube. Lots to discuss today on the Hangout. Lots of CFL discussion on the Hangout today. But it's also really warm in this room.
Yeah, what happened? I thought they fixed this thing.
Can I, when I got in here this morning, I looked at the thermostat. There was a message on there with an exclamation point with a yellow border around it, saying something, and I'm paraphrasing. The unit's been trying to cool, but 2 hours earlier it's been shut off and the fans go. So long story short, I walked in here this morning and it wasn't hot, but I could tell that it wasn't chilled, and so maybe that there's something. I didn't touch it.
They came literally yesterday and fixed this place.
Trev said he might be coming back today, supposedly.
Well, I hope so.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Because it lasted not even a day.
It was so comfortable.
Boy, wasn't it cool, though, yesterday?
It was too cold. I couldn't even work in my office.
Well, your office
You
is...
get all the air.
Well, it's also not... our thermostat doesn't connect to my office. My office connects to the lady's office over there.
He runs
Have
on
you
their
met
time.
her? She's a psychologist.
Yeah. I don't want to meet her because I don't know where that's going to go.
There's a lot of things in that mind that
She's going to be like,
analyze.
oh boy, this is a problem. Like, she's going to want to like dissect the brain, and I don't want to get into that.
There's
So
a lot
I
in
do
there.
not want
Where
to
to
meet
begin?
her. Yeah, I don't
She's
want
trying to chill you out with your room here. That's kind of the first
But
thing.
so she runs. So if she's not here, she's not running it. So my office is like completely connected to hers.
Maybe it's a ploy. And she's trying to meet you.
I think that's what it is.
I like this.
She's drawing him out into the hallway.
She's very attractive.
Yeah.
She's gonna want to like dissect the brain. It's not gonna go well.
So
Let
it happen.
A little couch session.
Yeah. Hey, wait.
It's but then this whole place is just
It's toasty.
it's
Yeah,
warm,
it's-
and this room's usually cool.
Is it?
Yeah.
hangout room?
I like the hangout room being like the hot room because people like the hot seat. You know, you're kind of
Yeah,
you're grilling people in here. 2 hours in the hangout. Oh, and you're dropping 8 pounds. You know.
Yeah, that's okay. I need to after eating poorly during 2 months of playoffs and drinking.
It's good to sweat it out.
Yeah,
yes.
sweat it up. Sweat it up.
We're getting the messages. EST Blackout brought to you by Two Hoots. This is going to be interesting. Shh, it's a secret. Ha ha ha.
Okay.
Boys, look, you know the magic of radio and you know, just we're having fun. Roll with it.
Just roll with it.
You're not going to say a word and then a bunch of green slime's going to drop down on your head or something like that. Like this isn't a.
I wouldn't mind that. That'd be a fun day.
Cool. You
That
off
was
a
a
bit,
great
maybe.
show. You can't do that on television.
Exactly. Thank you very much.
Alanis Morissette
Isn't
was
that
on
the
it.
best?
It
Yeah,
was
and
a
they go
great
to
show.
the hamburger shop and the cook there and the.
Yeah. Don't say I don't know.
Should we get into the big news from yesterday?
What happened?
Roby.
Yeah, Roby Arventi.
I think it broke during you guys. You guys were in the hangout here.
Yep.
We broke the news.
Oh, we did. We broke it. Then we broke it down.
dissected
with
it.
Ross Levitan, who was excellent. A lot
That
of
was
people.
on the oil stream.
I know.
And that's good.
But on the
People-
hangout, we broke it down for
Yeah.
like 30 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, we summed it up.
We
and
crushed it.
30 seconds.
Can I say something? You crushed it fixing. Speaking of fixing stuff around here, you replaced the flusher again in the men's room here.
We'll see if it works.
As per a weekly tradition around these
It
parts.
does,
My
feel
boys,
like
I mean,
it does feel like every so often either Tommy or Dusty or you or I come in and be like, fix the toilet again, and then all of a sudden, like 2 weeks later, it's broken again, and I don't know who's doing it.
I know. I have an idea,
Okay.
and they treat toilets like I don't know. It's
you have
not
any who's
hard.
breaking it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, there's how many? Okay, we've got.
We never broke toilets at 1260.
No.
No.
So, well,
Like and
there were some issues with the toilet.
not
that
like-
wasn't our fault.
No.
That's
But
a
like
different
this type
story.
of issues, we never had those
The
issues at
flusher,
1260.
like literally the rod to pull up the chain. And I know most people out there know how to deal with this situation. It's a common if you own or rent a home. But like it was busted last year. It was in such bad shape when we first moved in. Remember?
Yep.
I got so frustrated. I went to Canadian Tire. I went and got a good metal one. Right?
Have you been reimbursed yet for those supplies? And
No,
labor?
I don't.
No, yet.
It's
But
all
this
good. It's
is
out of
a
the
building
kindness of-
issue. Much like we
It's a
don't
building
need to.
issue.
We're talking about Roby deals here and Borgo
Yeah.
trades. We don't need to be concerning ourselves with the flipper and the
Yeah, but the problem is yesterday it completely broke. Like it snapped off.
snapped off, so you can.
And
So
that's-
the only way to flush it was to lift the top
Get
of it,
in there.
grab
Oh my
the thing, and
God.
lift it up.
yes.
That's a building
It
thing.
completely broke.
That's a building thing,
But
but we
we
need
needed to
to-
get it done.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Where it was like, so I'm telling, like, we'll have to like send it to them.
And
building place,
The
landlords.
ladies' room is very immaculate.
I love the ladies' room.
It works quite well.
We should go to gender-neutral bathrooms.
Well, look, boys.
We have 2 of them.
Come on.
I know.
Let's go gender-neutral
Can I
bathrooms.
confess?
If one's open,
Confess.
you've used it.
I love using that washroom.
It's very
There's nobody
clean.
else.
Yeah, but you're here in the morning when they're not here.
I understand.
I don't want to be
maybe during a
leaving
9
the
to 5. I
bathroom
get it. Yeah,
in the middle of the day when they're walking in, they're looking.
One of our-
Why are you in there?
One of our crew has been busted by one of the ladies up
Yeah, I remember.
Oh, really?
I forgot who it was.
It had to have been Zach. That's a situation with him written all over it. Oh, me? What?
But the guys that are downstairs absolutely destroy it. The men's. It's
the men.
unbelievable. You're like, what the hell happened here?
You think it's saunas, but they have the amenities down there. You got the.
I don't know. We'll keep an eye on this one. I
Why go
replaced
for
it
burgers
today.
when you
You are
got steak
monitoring.
at home?
Well, I replaced it today, and we'll see how long this goes. Like
Next week.
it kinda
I give it-
hits
I
the
give it a
top-
month.
Yeah.
It
A month?
kind of hits
Wow.
the top of it a little bit,
Yeah, okay.
but because
That's
I didn't
okay.
want to bend it again. Because people
you get
keep
the metal
bending-
rod?
Yeah, but people
It's
keep
gonna last
bending and
6
stuff.
months.
So we'll see how long this goes.
I don't understand. Like when
Place
you're
your
hitting it, like are you putting so much force that you're bending a metal toilet rod inside?
Well, I think some people going in and purposely bending it.
Why?
Because on the instructions it says you could go bend it and stuff.
But like,
But you don't have
if it's
to.
Well, if
working
it's a side angle or
properly,
something,
you
you could go do
just
that. So
but
I
you don't
think
need it.
someone's going in and bending it. So today I just I don't know. I'm just leaving it straight.
good.
It hits the top a little bit if you push down on it, but it flushes, and we'll leave it for
You
now.
should put up a sign.
But whoever's going in there, they're just like pounding the
Body weight.
I
Yeah,
also
full
want to
body
take
weight.
the
Don't.
top off and leave it off for the,
Just go-
the whole time.
it doesn't take
So
a
then you
lot
can
of
even just
pressure
lift
to
it or whatever.
flush the
I
toilet.
don't know.
Anyway, this is
The building. Hey?
the building.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it feels like it's getting cooler.
We
in
thought
there.
Sunwapta building had its.
Oh, but that had its own issues.
And it did, but
do you
I mean,
think it was haunted? Because there's such
I think
an
there's
old
a lot
building.
of. I think probably if you go down to the annals of that place, there's probably a handful of people living down there.
Yeah.
That Ray
And critters.
knows, like
Yeah.
or adopted. Like I don't even know. You don't want to know. I think in that sense.
Someone told me, I think it was Low Tide told me that in the old Sunwapta building, which is the original, they just expanded it in the 90s or something, that the set for the kids' show Popcorn Playhouse still exists down there. And my dad and uncles would talk about this show nonstop, and they
But
had
they brought
birthday
it back
parties.
for in the late 2000s, early 2010s. I thought
As a
They
reboot
actually
like
or
a little
something, or
thing, like for an anniversary or something like that.
Oh,
probably do a haunted house now. Like
Well,
because
there's
it's
nobody-
so creepy
I mean,
and
it's
kind
so-
of.
That or
So
now it's thrown out by
empty,
now because they
yeah.
like to just get rid of everything from the past. There's a lot. They just like
love it.
is that an inside joke?
No,
Just
they
a
just
little
they just
slant?
they got to a point where it's just like throw everything away and get rid of
Yeah,
everything. And
yeah.
to some
Wow.
degree, some of it needed to get thrown away, but I also think that it was just get rid of whatever.
They got rid of people too.
Well, there's that.
There's nobody in there anymore.
No, but what they do have when it comes to the building, at least, is they had Ray. They still have Ray.
Ray's great.
Ray locks it down.
He was
That's
baby.
the one thing. As bad as that building was,
Ray-
like structure wise,
Yeah.
you still had Ray was on
Yeah.
it.
And security.
Ray was on it.
I
Provided
remember-
great security detail too.
Yeah. I remember like when I first started doing pre and post. I think I was like a month or two in, and I was in the building, and Ray saw me, and he's like, "Hello," like, I'm like, "Hey," and he's like, "Can I help you?" I'm like, "No." He's like, "Well, what are you doing here?" I'm like, "I'm hosting the pre and post game show for the Oilers game." He goes, "Are you sure?"
Are you?
And I was like, "What?" Yes.
Ray would know.
Dude, I used to anchor sports at CTV. And he's like, okay, I'll check. And then he came back. He's like, you're good. And I'm like,
You're good.
thank you.
Proceed. Carry on.
And we became fast friends after that. I love Ray. He was a glue guy there, I would say.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
getting some great conversations with him. He was big into the bubble hockey things.
Yes.
Yeah.
he had his own like players.
That's cool.
And they
I
had
don't
different
have any.
teams and they
I
had
love
like
bubble
hacks and
hockey.
all of that.
Yeah.
He was talking to me and a couple guys from the Bear once, and then like the next day he brought them in to show us.
That's
Ray
great.
loved the radio side too,
Kitschy hockey.
because
Oh, yeah.
we talked to him.
Yes, well, we're on all
The
stuffed up.
TV
and-
side never talked to him, but he'd come to the radio side. Like I remember he was painting the building, and he loved when he had to do the radio side.
Ray loved a
because
good painting,
We would all stop and
job.
chat with him, and we'd have a good 20, 30-minute chat with Ray, because who doesn't want to talk with Ray? And he just loved that
very
we wanted to
friendly.
talk with Ray. I'm like, well,
Yeah.
why wouldn't we want to talk with Ray? But I guess the people on the other side didn't want
The
to talk with Ray.
newsroom on the CTV side, having worked there, and then even going and visiting during our 1260 days, it was always stuffy.
That's a newsroom, though.
Yeah,
It's kinda-
always,
it's not-
"Hey, I'm
it's-
you
busy,
guys are so
don't talk to me."
focused
It's not
on
like the frat house
breaking down
radio
the
side.
news.
Yeah.
But
it's all serious.
When there was an actual sports department, like that's where everyone, like Clausen would come from his weather area and he would come and talk, and David Owasik would come by. Yeah, like Bill Fortier would always stop by, and it was like, you're having fun, like you're shooting the breeze. Like all we're doing is talk about sports. It's all good. Like relax. And then, there'd be like murders and stuff like that, and the news people would be dialed in, and they saw some stuff, so you just leave them alone. You'd be like, okay.
Yeah, you guys are just talking sports. Clausen's just talking weather, and it's
murder,
good times.
politics, this and that. So it's like, yeah, okay, I'm not talking to the news people. They were great though. I loved it.
It's kind of like your hangout within the newsroom, like
yeah.
Come to hang out.
Yeah, and I was blown away. Like Clausen's a beauty, obviously. We love him here, and he's one of our best guests. But I was kind of like nervous around him because I watched him and Carrie
like in the
Dahl
first few days,
and Daryl McIntyre, and then he was just like, he'd come by and talk. I'm like, this guy's awesome. So, and then D-Mac I didn't talk to until I actually got to 1260. And Carrie Dahl I never met till... Actually, I've never met her. She's the only person that I worked with that I never met.
Let's make this happen.
No, I'm scared.
Make
I'm still quite intimidated. I met her.
Get Tom to meet
Let's
Carrie.
make a wish.
I met her husband Steve last summer in Idaho. Awesome guy. Just such a nice guy, and I told him the story of like, I filled in as a sports anchor, and I never got to meet your wife, and I still haven't.
And he just said, okay.
He's a little awkward.
Well, we'll meet
No,
you.
he's like, we go meet her.
Well,
Okay, he's
okay,
laugh at that
Because
story.
the other way of here's Tom Gazzola, like, I want to meet your wife. And,
No.
Yeah, well, maybe
We'll let you anywhere near my wife.
No, not like that.
Yeah, but he might take it that way.
You're a threat,
No,
man.
Like you're just sitting there being
You're
very
a
nice.
threatening
Like,
individual.
hey, I've met Karen. Love to meet Karen. He's probably taking it
my
like,
God.
oh,
The alarms are
oh boy.
No.
This weasel
guy-
in the
This
hen
has
house
been
here,
taken
hey?
way out of context. No,
Well,
because
we don't know what he was thinking.
No,
That's what we're
you don't
saying.
know the mind of Mr.
no, Steve.
Has he got it done?
No, I didn't get. I'll,
Yeah,
in,
exactly.
Wonder why.
in a couple of weeks, I'm heading back down there, so maybe I'll.
Yeah, a
see
year
Steve.
later and be like, and that doesn't make it worse to follow up on meeting Carrie Dahl. Hey, by the way, you said you were going to let me meet your wife a year ago. Where are we with that?
She's a great broadcaster.
Lots of ideas.
And I admire her, and
He's gonna
her and
love it.
D-Mac were, and then Erin Isfeld's amazing. We know Erin; she's a friend of ours. I got to work with Erin, and
Great curler.
Is she really?
Oh, yeah. Used to be all over that media
She was
bond
very
spiel.
welcoming at CTV, and Joel Gottlieb.
Still
but,
is a great curler.
But that building is different now. I'll just say that. Anyway, sorry to detract and distract, but
You know what building's different now?
ours because it's cold in here.
I know where you're going with
The
this.
Edmonton Elks building. Oh, Chris Jones relieved of his duties as head coach and general manager. Jarius Jackson, interim head coach. G-Roy Simon, intern GM. This is Hangout Headlines, brought to you by the Ranch Golf and Country Club, offering premier conditions, top-notch service, unmatched value, the place you want to go to golf this golf season. Book your tee time visiting theranchgolf.com. We sprung into action yesterday to get breaking coverage of the Edmonton Elks changing. Tom, and you went down with Jay.
Yep.
You crushed in the press conference. You got your one-on-ones with G-Roy and Jarius. You jumped on with me for.
I downloaded the app.
You downloaded the app.
You did good.
Yes,
I was like, we need more remotes and hits from LTE.
Anytime, like
was so good.
especially in the old wilderness or whatever. But yeah, no, we all hands on the pump, and
Except I was about to rip Dusty.
well,
It was
That
great
was funny.
because we were sending all these messages, and I was thinking, "Oh, Dusty must be doing something with his family."
You knew, yeah,
because he's not texting.
Yeah.
And then at the end, he texted him like, "I could jump on." If he didn't, I was ready to be like, "Good job, everyone at 12 or 12 of EST." We jumped into the action, except you, Dustin.
he
Nelson.
just missed it. Like it was,
That's how I was gonna end
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
That was good.
And
But you two had a
he
great
got there.
ending to the whole coverage yesterday, going back and forth.
Yes.
It's a great conversation between the two of you. And of course, Tommy, you and Jay down there looking great and providing that.
Nice.
So I think we hit it all with all accounts yesterday. But I think the consensus opinion is just the general timing of it all. You can look at other games and other results. I know Rick mentioned the 3 walk-off field goals was one, but that day in the afternoon, I mean, you're a programming guy, Matty. You've been around this. You've covered breaking news both at the old place and everything. A Monday afternoon, later afternoon. That's even catching you off guard, as spry as you are.
Well, I was on with Jamie and I out in Regina on the Green Zone
This is great.
at 2:35.
It's a classic you story here. I love it.
But him and I had a nice conversation. But one of his questions was, "Is there going to be any changes?" And I was like, "Well, it's 2:30 in the afternoon Monday. They play on Friday. No, I don't expect any changes. Like there's
Why would you?
Why we haven't heard anything at this point. And then I hang up. There's like a 10-minute call or whatever, so it's 2:45, 2:50. I go do a little thing. I go sit down. I open the phone, and there's the press release. He's relieved of his duty. He's like, "Oh, okay."
Rick was listening.
You have an hour to get to the building.
Yeah.
Which they need to do a better job with that. I'm going to throw that out there.
Hernan said he legit did not know.
No, I get it, but for the organization as a whole,
If you want eyeballs and ears on you,
if you're an
and-
organization that complains that or gets upset that you don't get the media, do not give the media an hour to go cover a major press conference.
fair.
The Oilers have pulled that stunt many times, but
The Oilers are the Oilers,
it's
first and
different.
foremost. They
Yeah.
can get away with these things, but often they usually actually do, to me, feel like we get an hour and a half to 2 hours or something.
True.
And that a little extra time actually does make a difference. Their stuff also usually happens right in the morning.
yeah.
So you have you have
Yeah.
the day, like this
Yeah.
is, for us at least here, this is selfishly, we're done for the day in a sense.
But in terms of our clocks and how the sports
Yeah.
world works, that's when you
it's,
do your.
It's pretty late
Yeah.
in that sense too. You know, if you're dealing with the news they're close to 6 o'clock news time.
Yeah.
Out east, it's already.
Like that's
you know,
I'm assuming for Global and for CTV, a little bit of a busy that really threw things a little bit to the side.
I don't
An
know
hour
if CTV
isn't-
got there yesterday. I know.
Well, they probably would have just
Global
taken the
and City got
TSN
it.
feed because TSN was there.
TSN was not there.
They had some feed on their website, so somebody was there for Bell.
I did not see anybody there for Bell. I didn't see Sergio. I certainly did not see Parker. I did not see
because they had a camera set up and they were streaming live on their website, TSN.
I have a theory about that.
But still, so like it's
off mic.
that like even when Jay Woodcroft was let go, the press conference happened later that day. Now
Yeah, right,
they were
yeah.
traveling and stuff, but the news came in the morning, and it wasn't until like 2 o'clock, 3
Right.
o'clock when that stuff happened. So.
Right.
If you're gonna do these things, get the most
and in
juice
the
you
summer,
can out of
there's
it,
not a
eh?
lot of people working in some places. So
Right,
I'm just
yeah.
gonna say, if you're the CFL, this is across the board for all 9 teams.
Yep.
Don't make things harder for people to.
Don't bury the
catch up.
lead here.
It wasn't
so
even
to
on
speak.
YouTube.
Yeah.
I know. Well, that's why I bought the place in the building we live in, is so if stuff like that broke, then you could be nimble. And I got over there in like 10.
Did you take a scooter?
minutes.
Did you scoot
No, I
there?
drove.
Oh, okay.
I
I want you
wish
scooting to a store.
I was really excited about that.
Flying
Yeah.
Tommy's just going away. There's Tommy. Where's he going? Breaking news by the Elks.
I gotta
This is
go.
my backpack on.
Yeah.
Where you going? It's Commonwealth press conference. Dork.
Paul behind you.
Paul on the same scooter.
I love that image again.
Oh man.
Okay, Tom, you're gonna have to jump in on this one too,
Okay.
because MCTV podcast, which I'm assuming is Majot.
Hey.
Matt, how many fired EA coaches have you covered now, both EE and Oilers? And you would have been the same. You might be a little bit more.
Yeah, you guys go.
So I first started when Pat Quinn. I was on the conference call when Pat Quinn was let go. So there's Pat Quinn, there's Tom Rennie, there's Ralph Kruger, there's Dallas Aikens. Todd Nelson doesn't count to me because he was just the interim. Well, he was the interim. So
Yeah,
it
but
was
you have
like,
the sports car and everything. Like
but he wasn't let go.
Camaro. Yeah.
But like he was an interim. Then he
Great
wasn't
guy, great guy.
didn't
Yeah,
keep his
I
jobs.
know,
Then there's Todd McClellan. Then there's Dave Tippett. Then there's Jay Woodcroft. So 7 firing calls or conferences. And
I
then,
have 8 because I was there for Mac T.
Okay. Then Elks wise, when would have I started? I was there for Richie Hall. So Richie Hall firing, Cavis firing. Chris Jones left. Moss. Elizondo.
Milanovic never was.
He never got fired. And now Chris Jones, who this is I think the first time Chris Jones has been fired.
Interesting.
He's always jumped. He's always moved.
So he's cut that
Or
next
he's
lily
always got,
pad.
well, he's got that next. He got
Yeah,
that
yeah.
promotion always.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
This is I think the first time he got fired. So I don't know. Was that 7 at Oilers? You had 8. 5 coaches. You might have more for the Elks.
I was there for Machocha, but I wasn't there when he was let go or anything.
Yeah.
I didn't go to a lot of those press conferences because I didn't have to cover a ton of CFL. When I did, I loved it. I still, to this day, I love it. So I'm very excited to be doing what we do, and then sidelines too. So this was my first real Elks coach and GM firing that I've gotten a chance to cover on location.
Then there's Danny Machocha being fired. Eric Tillman being fired.
That he shouldn't have even been hired.
Hervey being fired. Sunderland being fired,
Brock Sunderland.
and now Chris Jones being fired. So there's 5 GMs, and then the Oilers GMs wise. Was I there? I was around for Tambo. So
Yeah.
Tambellini getting fired,
Yeah,
which then goes to Mac T.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then Mac T was let go, Shirelli was let go, and now there's not it was a parting of ways. It wasn't a let go, so add 3 more. So
Yeah, I
this-
was there for all of those.
We've had a lot
Well, I
of
guess Kevin
experience
Lowe's
when it
stepping
comes
down,
to
too.
coaching and GM changes. A lot of experience when
Somebody
it comes
who's-
to doing those things.
Grizzled vets here. Hey?
Yeah, yeah.
You two are been
This
through the
is-
ringer.
you just-
Oh,
you just- well, it was yesterday. It's old hat. Oh,
Yeah.
firing someone. We got this.
That's-
we had to do both teams this year with coaches.
yeah,
we had to
Jay-
do Oilers and Elks
Well.
in year 1 of EST.
As somebody
Yeah.
pointed out today, look how that coaching change turned out. Hey,
That one worked
That's
out
not
really
good.
well.
In year 1 of EST, we will have seen a change at coach for both Oilers and Elks, and a change at GM for both Oilers and Elks.
And a Game 7 in the Stanley Cup Final.
That's
You just
crazy.
kind of throw that in there as well. All the firings and all the
that's
turmoil.
all going to
Yeah,
happen
like
likely
Stanley Cup.
within a year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Between September 6th last year and likely September 6th this year.
And
Man.
one of those teams almost won a championship.
You'd really love a local sports division that could be covering all that. Hey, wouldn't that be something now?
That's insane. Jay, that was Jay's like first big press conference, and Jay was great. Well done, glue guy. Him and G Roy were actually talking. I was getting set up to do the one-on-ones, and I was like, G Roy, have you met our co-host on our Elks pre and post game show, Jay Mill? And he goes, hey, Jay, nice to meet you. I'm like, Jay played DB for the Golden Bears. Went to the combine back in the day. How'd that go, Jay? And I just like left them to it. And
What a dismount.
And I was kind of listening to them. They had a great conversation. G Roy's like, combine ain't easy, man. And Jay's like, no, I should not have gone. And they went into it a bit. It was a funny conversation, but also. Jay goes at the end of all that, like we did everything, all the one-on-ones, and we hopped on with you. And then we did a quick recap, and Jay's like, "Man, like that you didn't seem frazzled at all." And everything you just said, I was like, "Yeah, I've been to a few of these."
We
Then you showed him all the scars. You buttoned your shirt. See this scar? I got that in the Tambellini.
Yeah.
Oh, that was tough.
Yeah, that
so
one almost-
shrapnel lodged in here.
Exactly.
Here's the Richie Hall right here.
Yeah. I lost a toe in that one.
Oh, maybe this is the move that changes everything. Maybe this
Hopefully.
is going to be the one. In the end, I'm surprised it happened yesterday. I think after the post-game show, I put it, or on the post-game show, I said 75% chance it doesn't happen, 25% chance it does happen.
Short week.
It was a short week.
Yeah.
There was all the talk about ownership and would you wait for that? I always felt, I've said it the entire time, that obviously you're going to ask the new owners their thoughts on this, and clearly Rick Lawlisher confirmed that yesterday, saying they signed off on it. He went to them, but they signed off on it. But look, 0-5, 8-33 record.
Yeah.
There's just there's no defense of that.
2-19 at home, was it?
It's 2-19 or 2-20 at home.
The home
something like
record,
that.
too, when you had a long stretch without any, and you can count the home wins on one hand. I mean, the 8 is bad enough.
Yeah.
You go about missing the playoffs. All of these things, all these numbers all added up. But I just think Rick, in his delivery yesterday as well, he mentioned this 3 consecutive walk-off field. Like, you couldn't set out to plan that.
No.
I mean,
No.
bad, whatever you want to call it, but you create your own luck, and the mistakes and the deficiencies. And I know you guys have torn it up in the defense and not being able to hold. I mean, those are all things. But I mean, it's frustrating because for the casual fan, you look at 0-5 and that's it. Mm-hmm. But I think for you're watching football games, you're like, damn it. A result or two go the other way. Chris Jones is probably still employed, maybe to the chagrin of most people here. Maybe there's something that needs to happen to move on. But
Flip side, I would say this happened because Chris Jones is just way too arrogant.
oh yeah,
He wanted to show everyone he's smarter than everyone else. He wants to show everyone that he doesn't need Trey Ford.
If you didn't fire him yesterday and offer him 2 more jobs within the organization, he takes them without any thought and continues on. But it's who's going to stop him? Somebody's got to stop it.
Like, this was this goes against most of what I believe in, but business shouldn't impact your football decisions. But the Elks are in a position where actually business does matter. Really important right now.
Huge impact.
And he slapped the fans in the face right off the bat by not going with Trey Ford and going into this season. And this is not something about McLeod Bethel-Thompson. I'm not, because he's
been all right.
The quarterbacking
Yeah.
situation is not the reason the Elks are 0-5.
Right. Yep.
But right off the bat, fans were excited about Trey Ford. They wanted to see Trey Ford. He should have been plastered over all the billboards this offseason. And he said, we're not going with Trey Ford. And this also because Trey Ford saved his job. You asked Rick Lawler yesterday about when did he start thinking about this, and he said right after last season.
Yep.
They missed the playoffs again. Well, the only reason he kept his job ultimately was because Trey Ford won football games for Chris Jones. And then he turned his back. Well, I don't even know if he turned his back, but he just threw Trey Ford aside again, and he slapped the fans in the face and said, I'll show you. We're going to win this year. We're going to go win football games this year. We're going to do without Trey Ford. And in the end, he went 0-5, and there's no saving grace from that. And I do wonder, what if this team was 0-5 with Trey Ford? Would have he been fired yesterday?
This goes back to the winning isn't everything. Okay? And I know that phrase sticks
It was
a lot of people.
very poor. Yeah.
But this goes to the point, though, too, that what message are you sending? Now, you're playing Trey Ford, you got an exciting ball. Okay, maybe you're still not winning, but you're giving fans a little something to hope for, a little something on the future side to look at. That's why that phrase and that saying, I mean, winning helps in every aspect.
Yeah.
From if you're Gage grilling dogs, everybody winning, yes, that matters. But it's so funny with this experiment here because I think, as you mentioned, Jones and his hubris, it just seems like every time, a fan, hey, can we just maybe... No, and it was the complete opposite. So you kept getting sent these messages from a fan's point of view that, what are we doing here? And is there any connection? And by the end, I mean, that was totally severed, it seemed. And into what... hey, we're going to take a plane to Ottawa. Fans are like, yeah, that's a smart move. No, we're going to take the bus. Just to say, no, we're doing it different. I'll show you.
I'm the football guy.
And at that point, you're like, well, now you're just making decisions, again, with the hubris in mind and not doing the correct stuff. So winning is very important, but it is these other things. And communicating, as Rick pointed out yesterday, to the casual fan.
I do wonder, people would have been mad at 0-5 if Trey Ford was the starting quarterback this year.
Of course,
there was no McLeod at the time. But would have he been fired if we're sitting there going, they're trying to develop this quarterback? We saw what happened last year.
Because then it's a different...
Does he get a little bit more rope? And I don't know the full answer to that. I would like to sit here and say the fans would be okay with it, but there's also 0-5 might just piss people off.
But the messaging of MBT, Jones brought him in to win now. And you're not winning now, and that's the problem. Exactly.
When you brought him in, it was win season. And everyone defending that move, you got to win this season. It doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's why you don't get any saving grace. Whereas if you went with Trey Ford, you're saying we're developing this young quarterback. We're going out there to try to develop this quarterback who's going to be the star of this league with the Edmonton Elks.
You get a little time with that.
Would fans be able to be like, we're seeing it? As long as they don't get blown out in all these games, if they're 0-5 with Trey Ford, I think he actually would have kept his job. But he was so arrogant in that he didn't want to go with Trey Ford in any way, shape, or form. Even seeing the football field for a play.
Yeah.
That's what was the undoing of Chris Jones, even though that's what saved his job last year. That's the ironic part of all of this.
It's a very interesting old timeline here.
He got 2024 because Trey Ford won football games, but he's fired in 2004 because he didn't want to play Trey Ford for even a snap.
Everything valid. They're cleaning the windows.
Is that what they're doing? Okay.
Let's do the blinds. We can wave to them,
Okay, so it's interesting, and listen, I'd like to see Trey Ford, obviously. I understand why McLeod Bethel-Thompson was brought in. Did I necessarily like it? Do I necessarily... No, but McLeod Bethel-Thompson, talking to him, he was brought in, paid handsomely. He got the message. I'm a mercenary. I'm here to win games for this team. Hopefully course correct. Hasn't happened. They've been close. They've made the mistakes. They've taken stupid penalties, terrible decisions. All of that has accumulated into an 0-5 start. It's interesting seeing some of the responses from former Eskimos they still have connections, obviously, to the team, and saying, well, if Trey wants to play. So I know there's two sides to this. I know that there's a general mistrust, or there was, from Chris Jones to Trey Ford. And I feel like, Ford as the player, as a high-end draft pick for this team.
And a quarterback.
Not
a receiver, whatever,
not a
DB, whatever the hell.
Right. Who has had results in this league as a starter.
Yeah. The most wins in the last 3 years.
Right. Has some disdain, resentment, scorn for that head coach that won't and refuses to play him. So obviously there was a butting of heads. And I understand why, just seeing the public comments and on X from ex-players saying, well, if Trey wants to play, and I get that, and of course he wants to play, but whatever they designed for Trey didn't like. That's reading between the...
Yeah, and that you also just have to go to the history of Chris Jones, and it's very gimmicky the way he was designed.
Always has been with quarterbacks. He's Vernon
yes.
Adams Jr. his time in Regina rubbed him wrong, and now that went away and went. I will leave you with this, though, and we had Rick Lawlisher on this morning on the Nielsen Show, and we really thank him for his time. And I asked him, messaging and all this, and he said yesterday Chris Jones didn't lose locker room. He said that. But then messaging. So where is that middle line? I then kind of furthered that up with in terms of communication now. Chris Jones wore all the hats. He was the sheriff, whatever.
Yep.
Well, okay, now you've got G-Roy into that interim GM. Rick is the interim prez, and Jerry is the interim coach. I said, well, is there going to be any type of communication in terms of what you expect on field? I asked Rick. And he started off with saying, I'm not the football guy, to which he said yesterday, and I get that. But he said that first, said, I'm not the football guy. He then followed that up with, but I did express, in terms, and I'm paraphrasing here, the importance of playing more than one quarterback in I think, this market, this team, even in the CFL. I've been beating that drum, too. I think we all, 18 games, you need at least a couple guys ready. Oh. So I find it funny that he mentioned he's not the football guy. But he did mention the quarterback thing in terms of not just sticking to one and using, and I think, if it was G-Roy or Jerry's mentioning yesterday, also Dakota Prukop mentioning all three quarterbacks in that. Yes.
He said he likes all three quarterbacks, and they'll do things differently with quarterback.
And why not?
MBT is the starter.
And that's right.
And that's what it should be.
MBT
does not deserve to be benched right. Based on his play, he's not deserving of being benched right.
Yes. He's given them a chance to win.
Yes.
And the only thing I'll counter is he hasn't won. And he's brought in, he's paid money, and you've got to go win football games at some point.
Yeah, I know.
But it's that middle ground. If we go on the list of why the Elks are 0-5, he's not 1, 2, 3, 4.
No, good
right?
point.
Like he's down there, but he's also not a reason they've gone and won.
True,
but I think it was the Turf District pod that he was on with Rick Lawlisher in December before MBT was brought in, and he talked about, I think it was there where Trey Ford you could market Trey Ford.
Yeah.
And that's why I was always stunned that MBT was brought in, because it was the president who needs to try to fix this franchise and get people excited about it. One side going, I'm going to market Trey Ford potentially, and hinting at that. And then the GM and head coach going, nope, not at all. I'm going a different way. And so he allowed it to happen.
Hubris again, where you kind of, you want to market? No. Well,
but he allowed it to happen, because you could have at that point, if you're Rick Lawlisher, you could have went, nope, you're fired.
He was thinking about it,
but he left it. He allowed Chris Jones to go ahead with it. But then it doesn't shock me then in the end for him then if he says that to you guys, and I'll have to go back and listen to the full thing and kind of hinting at,
but just making it known that he's not going to get involved in football except for this one. Except for this one position.
I'll add to this, I think, because I was always curious about this going into this whole season with that, is what do the new owners want? And if I'm a new owner buying this team, I look at Trey Ford and go, there's a marketable guy.
Everybody wants to stay out of the, but you do have your ideas of how this
spent money on this team.
Yeah,
who am I going to market this team off of? It's Trey Ford. And if I'm looking at going, where am I going to? So that's where I wonder if maybe Rick Lawlisher making that comment is also, he got this signed off on by new owners. When he went to new owners, or the prospective new owners, or owner, or whatever, did any of them mention, like, yeah, no, we're good with firing Chris Jones. You make sure you keep Trey Ford happy, or you make sure Trey Ford gets going, because we want that guy in this organization, because that's the guy we're going to market. Turn that around.
Oh, yeah.
Please.
You want Nate the Builder.
Either way, as long as people it's on that way. Yeah. Perfect.
Nate the Builder texting in Paris Jewelers inbox 780-218-9999 says, did you guys catch in Jones' post-game interview where he said Trey Ford is, quote, a good little quarterback, unquote?
I caught that. No, I caught that.
You caught that?
Look, reading between the lines and the tea leaves is so interesting with these pre-post, whatever it is. And I think
it's a backhanded
Jones
compliment.
said something a few weeks, or even at the start of the season. It escapes my mind now, but I caught that and I found it very interesting. The same as way I found Rick's mentioning this morning. I'm not doing the football. However, I communicated to Jarius and how important it is to have two guys. And again, not Trey Ford coming in as a slot option, rinky-dink, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Actually playing the position of quarterback, drawing up some packages.
Not just only Wildcat.
No,
one former
no.
Eskimo Elk could be like, oh, you should have went in, like, there's Wildcat plays. You should have done that. Well, okay, if that's...
How's that working for the Saints?
Well, but it's also like, okay, if he's going to get that, sure, but I can understand Trey Ford going, I just don't want to be a Wildcat quarterback. No. Pat White hated that. When he came up to Edmonton, I remember, because he was the guy with the Dolphins for a long time.
Yeah,
he didn't want to be asked about the Wildcat.
Yeah.
Like, I understand if maybe a couple times you throw him in that Wildcat type thing, but are you then going to throw him normal quarterback plays? Are you going to then treat him like a normal quarterback? And Chris Jones was never going to do that. He only wanted him as that gimmick quarterback. And I understand why Trey Ford.
And that goes back to Kai Loxley. It goes back to so. And I'm not defending Loxley or anything like that,
but Chris Jones last week, and multiple times has had to throw Trey Ford under the bus by making it publicly known that Trey Ford said no to the gimmick plays.
Yes.
And now he says in the post-game press conference, this little guy.
Yeah.
That's Chris Jones taking shots at Trey Ford. And have we heard Trey Ford once say anything about the organization or Chris Jones?
No.
Have we heard him at all say he's upset or frustrated or this is disappointing? No. And that's partly like Chris Jones and the arrogance of him. And because the fans want Trey Ford, to what you're saying, like that's... He's taking shots at Trey Ford because he's trying to tell fans, you're wrong. You're wrong.
We could have 40 days of 30-degree weather and nothing but sun, and fans would be like, I hope it rains. And Chris would be like, I don't. Just to go counter, like that's what
I get it.
Counter to what everybody wants. And that relationship, I mean, that's, you talk about getting the casual and butts in the seats and all this stuff. And the Dino days, that was, all that stuff is good. But I think that when you can kind of feel that, and especially I think in football, you talk about like man management, player management, and guys, because it is almost like the Army. It almost is like basic training in a sense.
Regimented,
the sport of football, right? Next man up, everybody all in. So to get a guy that's always going against the grain to the people that pay to watch the product, I mean, I don't blame people for tuning out a long time ago, and getting them back takes a lot of work, but.
This comes into the Parish Rulers inbox, 780-218-9999. He's not fired because he wouldn't play Ford. He's fired because their defense is hot garbage. No. That's why they're losing games. And you're right on that. But
totally.
This is where I've been saying this since February. When you go play Trey Ford, he's cheaper than McLeod Bethel Thompson. So now you have to have a backup quarterback for him, whoever that might be.
But where are you using that NBT money then?
But now you have extra cash.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you could have went and spent it on different spots. And what I always pointed to in the offseason was Chris Jones and some people that defended the move would say, you can't go with a young quarterback. He's just too young. But they were completely fine with a completely young secondary. There's three guys
not an individual.
There's three guys on that secondary that are second year or third year players. And look what that secondary is doing.
It's getting sliced up.
But so Chris Jones was fine leaving that with youth. Why not go spend some money and get veterans out there? And I bring this up just because the roster construction.
You talked about O-line.
O-line, improving the O-line. I didn't like the move for Curly Gittens Jr. Not that he's been bad or terrible with the Elks. He's actually been fantastic.
Yes.
But you got rid of Stephen Dunbar because you needed to
save money.
You had too many receivers.
Yes.
And instead, then you give up Jake Ceresna to go then bring in Curly Gittens Jr. Now you just got rid of Jake Ceresna. For nothing, basically. It's because
you're robbing from.
You kept your receiving corps to be robust with all this money and all these players that you didn't need all of this. So now there's money that you've lost the defensive lineman on that. And we've seen that this defensive line's not getting pressure. The roster construction of this team could have been so much better when you had if you had Trey Ford as your starting quarterback because he was cheaper. It's like the entry level deal in hockey. How many times have we talked about that in the past?
Gotta have entry level guys.
You got that entry level guy, Bouchard, when he's on the entry level. There's a savings here. You can go spend somewhere else. That's what the Elks had the ability to do this offseason. But Chris Jones went, nope. Screw you, fans. You want Trey Ford? I'm going with MBT, and I'm going to go spend money on the offense and not build on the defense because you want to know something? I'll go find defensive linemen for cheap. And I'll go build these defensive backs and make them great. And the defense is poor. But where does this all come back to? Because he didn't want to go with Trey Ford. The defense is garbage because Chris Jones, as a general manager, thought he was smarter than everyone else and didn't need to spend money on the defense. So he's going to spend in areas that he didn't need to. And this is the result.
And those are two good examples. The MBT, you can't fault him. But again, money that could have arguably spent elsewhere. Curly Gittens Jr., same thing. Can't fault him. Great player. But, and that's the GM Jones. And if he would have been coaching, DCing, whatever you want to say, but then somebody above him making those moves and building that roster and constructing it without the hubris and the, people want me to do this, I'm going to do the complete opposite even though it's the bad move. Well, What could have been? I don't know. But again, all the keys were on his keyring.
It's not even hindsight 2020. So many Elks fans and myself, we've been saying this since February. And there's no way we should have been able to be smarter than Chris Jones, who's supposed to be the football mind. This isn't hindsight 2020. This is fully saw this all coming, and it's disappointing that it got here. Didn't want this to happen, but it was very clear that this was the path the Elks were going to go.
It's played out the way you thought, and looking at everything, you could easily come to that conclusion. But I just. if he didn't have that hat on, and if somebody else was making those moves, and if, and I get we can go down that line.
Yes,
but
we need to. Keep going. I want to touch on this.
Sure.
Keep going.
Well, no, I mean, what do you need? I just like, please.
Where this emanated from was the mess that the organization put itself into.
So what did he inherit? Let's rewind the tape. Right?
A bad team,
exactly.
a bad team, right?
And that's why Lolisher said, I mean, it's better now than it was, which is not a high bar. But
and the reason why. Now listen, this is where it was comical and a farce is when they had Wally Buono come in as a consultant to go and find the right guy. This team was cash strapped. They were losing money. They had to go through the change of the branding because they were forced into that. And
coaching cap hell. So they needed somebody who could wear different hats. And really, there was one guy who has done that. Now, to what effect? It was Saskatchewan. You guys were talking about yesterday. Those teams that he built, even though he had bolted for Cleveland at that point, became pretty good. They always got better.
They got better.
And
the players
I defend.
So that's why he was the right guy
I
at the time.
defended the Chris Jones hiring.
Yeah.
And I was defending Chris Jones up until the MPT move, like straight up.
And you're right. Let's remember the time it was.
Yeah.
It was a time with what you needed filled. Yes.
In a different way than what it is.
And based on his resume at that point, it was a move you made.
He went to Toronto and he was the defensive coordinator, like a consultant, whatever. Their defense was better.
Yes. But I wonder too, and I've talked about at length, he's brought in some good players during his tenure in the league. And I think that's what we all hoped and thought would happen here. There's a lot of undoings here, but I think GM Chris Jones, to what all three of us in the room would expect, that there'd be a lot more talent brought in from him on this roster that we'd never heard of.
Yes.
That ultimately did not happen. Now, maybe some of these guys in the defensive secondary might go on. Like this might be a thing where a year down the line or a year or two, they keep a whole lot of these guys, and you see the Jones graduating class,
I like this Anderson linebacker. I think he's going to be really good. But
I think you guys were talking, you and Dusty talked too, that defense needs a bit of a spine. You look at Winnipeg. And when you don't have Dusty's Niles Morgan, your anointed vet in the
third
he's
year.
not.
Yeah.
And then you can't. Yeah. So not a lot of enough scrap heaping in terms of, I guess, free agency where you just bring in a guy like Purifoy. But I also thought it fell incredibly, terribly short in the scouting and just bringing guys in and populating league, to which I thought Jones has done good in the past. But that seems to have, that ship has sailed.
But think of who he had in Saskatchewan with that. He had John Murphy.
And again,
John Murphy,
you're only as good as your staff and
with
everything.
Calgary, with
Murphy is brought in.
With Toronto. Now he shouldn't have a job again in the Canadian Football League because there's been a lot of things.
Yeah.
But look, that when Chris Jones in Saskatchewan, why did they? Because he had John Murphy going to go get him football players.
Yeah.
John Murphy was that guy. They also brought in Paul Jones, I think.
Paul,
from Edmonton.
Like
they had a nice team, but like John Murphy's a guy that was able to find players. Chris Jones didn't. It doesn't seem like had guys here that were able to do that. That's where I'm not gonna lie. I have a little concern of G. Roy. Because G. Roy was supposed to be the John Murphy of this Elks team.
Yeah.
And he hasn't, and does still point out that he's brought in some receivers, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Receiving is all right.
Got enough of those.
But you need offensive linemen. They haven't gone out for the Hardrick in free agency. They've gone and grabbed guys as leftovers, other teams as leftovers, guys that they're throwing away.
It's fine to get open now.
Building an O-line, but it hasn't worked. But where is that press release player from March of any of these past few years of that offensive lineman that you brought in that all of a sudden is, here's a stud. Here's a guy solidifying the blind side or the right tackle spot. They haven't been able to find those guys. Defensive line, they haven't really been able to figure things out. Secondary, maybe these guys are going to be good. Yeah, but you didn't bring any veterans in to help alleviate things. Ed Gainey ended up no one signed him, but you moved on from Ed Gainey, moved on from Aaron Grimes based on injuries, but you didn't go and support those guys. We talk about in hockey terms. You need to shelter something. The Oilers back in the day, Justin Schultz was immediately put as a top pairing defenseman.
That was trouble.
Probably need to be a second pairing or a third pairing defenseman to start his NHL career. Some of these guys, maybe they need a couple of one or two vets and start off and work their way into the starting lineup or just get plays and stuff here. And nope, he just threw it all out there. Partly because the roster construction said they had to.
But a great point about Murphy, because I think, too, this goes back to the wearing too many hats, giving him too many keys to the kingdom. And when you give somebody like that with the hubris that they have, that now is a recipe for disaster. You don't want to hear anything else. You don't want anybody else outside of your circle of either friends or coworkers that you've established and brought in. I mean, in Saskatchewan, there was a bit of a system. O'Day was there. You mentioned,
there was
Murphy.
O'Day, too.
But there was a however you want to call it, but a bit of a skeleton system that Jones had to operate within.
He could make the ultimate call as the GM and president, but he had people to go do things for him.
Yeah. And
whereas
serve
here,
him.
I don't know who he had doing things for him and how good they were doing.
But he takes the jobs regardless because that's what he does. He's totally business, and I mean, I think we all take jobs if they're offered to us, regardless of how much is on our plate at the time.
And now that this team moves forward with Jarius Jackson and Giroy as interns, I don't know how to really evaluate Giroy this season. It's kind of hard because GM, I feel like your job is mostly going to be done in the off season. Jarius is going to be the one to be fascinating and to see how he goes about utilizing Trey Ford and Dakota Prukop, but also just he's wearing multiple hats now, and how does this team go about?
But multiple hats, but on the field. And that's the good thing. Like, I think coordinating
I've
and
always
coaching...
been, and Chris Jones was the first time I actually went, wow, somebody could actually do this where I'm a little confident. I'm always concerned about a head coach and a coordinator.
Fair enough.
And when Chris Jones first got to Edmonton 14-15, I was concerned about defense head coach.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, no, he could do that.
I just think
Jarius Jackson's never been a head coach, so it's like being the head coach and the OC and the QB coach. Okay, but now is he going to be... Because the one thing about Chris Jones that I'll defend from back in his first time I remember hearing was... He was very like, he would coach his defense, and if a player came from the offense to say something, he'd be like, what did McAdoo say, basically? Go talk to McAdoo. He's the OC.
Yeah.
And he let McAdoo, and they ran that, because he ran the defense.
Yeah.
And that helped him separate things and take a little off his plate. How much power is Jason Shivers going to have to just basically run the defense? Is this more of a...
that's the problem area.
Jarius Jackson is the interim head coach, but kind of there's two head coaches almost in a sense, because Jason Shivers is just going to get to run that defense.
Yeah.
And Jarius Jackson isn't going to be too involved because he's too busy focused on the offense.
But I just think too that you could okay, quarterback coach. I think MBT can coach him. Like, I know there's Trey Ford.
Maybe there's a.
I think there's a bit of a player coach thing maybe going on here where you could say okay, and I like that. To the larger point, I'm pretty bullish on Jarius. I don't know why. Again, there's nothing to, but that's the good thing. There's nothing to base it off.
You never know.
A guy like Mark Killam, who's been through all this, and still nothing. Okay, that's fine. Jarius has never been. I think you mentioned it yesterday too. But has he ever been talked about or so much groomed or rumored to be or conversations? So a chance for him with a decent roster at his disposal, especially offensively. Now Shivers, the defense is the problem.
Yep.
And Shivers is still here, and it's kind of a weird lame duck type of deal. But you're giving Jarius now a chance to say, hey, as Rick mentioned, we're not through the first third of the season yet. Let's see what you can do. You're not playing. You're coaching for a job now. Not just with this organization, but maybe in the future with some other organization. Like, this is now. Yes, it's 0-5. 2011 BC Lions. I brought it up today too. Jarius Jackson, part of that team.
Up to me yesterday.
Part of that team.
Same with you, Roy.
And he was playing. Travis Lulay was playing, and so like CFL baby. That's why we love the league.
Michael Riley was playing.
Michael Riley was in there. He got a couple appearances. So I'm kind of. I think the unknown is what I'm kind of looking forward to here, because there's really no tape on him coaching. There's no expectations. There's no nothing. I think you have a good roster at your disposal, albeit with a few deficiencies. But, a kick in the backside for the players. All we need, all the Elks need, a few defensive stops in key moments, eliminating bad play, like just that coaching them up just a bit more. And maybe now with this gone, it gives them a kick in the backside. Jarius comes in, not too far removed from the game.
No, he's not.
A bit of you could maybe argue a player's coach now. So maybe this kind of assembles them in a. And again, we talk about that coaching bump. Maybe this is. I could see this being as a formula, because Jarius hasn't been talked about. There's really no heat. Just go out there and let loose. Have some fun.
Talking to Jarius, that was the first time I've ever met Jarius Jackson. Like, I've known him, I've watched him. I remember his days playing in the league, and that was my first time like getting a sense of Jarius Jackson, the man. And then obviously we'll see what he's like as the coach, because now the spotlight's on him. But he doesn't strike me as a guy that's gonna throw a bunch of BS at you. Like, he was just matter of fact. And he had to take care of the press conference because it was an important formality that needed to be attended to. And then basically, as soon as they were done, and he was great, he was gracious, he was open, shared his thoughts, and that's all we asked for. We got 5 minutes of his time, which was fantastic, and we're thankful for that. As soon as those guys were done, they went back into the coaches' rooms, and they were in meetings. That's what I was. As soon as they were in meetings, and now they were picking up the pieces and putting together a game plan. And it strikes me as Jarius Jackson being the type of guy where it's like, okay, all this other stuff, the cameras, the microphones, screw it. I know I have to do it, but I need to worry about football. So I'm just gonna go do football stuff. And he didn't. It wasn't a bother for him to do that stuff. Because he knows he's been a quarterback. He's been an assistant coach or coordinator. Now he can go to work. And that's exactly what happened yesterday. That was the timeline.
But he also had to deal with that last year because there was a press conference for two. They replaced Steve McAdoo, put him as OC.
Yeah.
And they had to go deal with that, I'm sure, right after that. Went into meetings because he's now the offensive coordinator.
This goes back to the winning isn't everything. And it's your daily movement throughout that place every single day. And you mentioned it. Chris Jones was the antithesis of that. The media, all that was just something I had to do. I have to do this. I have to talk to these jokers and all these people and address them. Then Chris Jones, hard worker. I'm not gonna I think he's there. He wanted to get it right, but there's so much of that business acumen within him that he's just there's no human in there. No. And I think with a guy like Jarius taking the time, and again, all of these things are important. Just running an organization. Players see how you interact with people, the media, the fans, all this stuff. That all cascades. And if you're just going to say, screw them, their thoughts and they're stupid, we're just going to go in the film room and do the work. Well, that's part of it, an important part, but it ain't everything.
It's still a show.
It's a show, and you have to... Perception, and especially I think Rick's brought it up to the casual fan. Watching this team as a football person... Yes, they're close, but 0-5 is the only thing that matters. So for the casual, I think it's important that he's taking the time and not just giving you a little bit of time, but I think that stuff goes a long way. It's the perception, and I think drawing the fans back in and getting that relationship going again. That it may seem small, but that stuff is big in my.
I'll use my lovely hairdresser Chantel as an example. Chantal's not a huge sports person. She enjoys them, but she always asks me, knowing what we do, like, what's going on with this team? What's going on with that team? So, for example, she'd be like, oh, it's football now, right? Yep. And then she would say something like, do we still suck? And I would say, yes. Did they fire the coach? Yes. She'd be like, I saw that. I didn't like him, or I liked him, or I thought he could have been better. That's the casual fan.
Yes.
Because there's
they don't
times,
care about the
there's times
details.
where once a month I'll go in for a haircut and Chantal will be like, me and my boyfriend went to the football game. It was such a good time. And they won. That's the casual fan. Yeah. It's not. She's not X's and O's. And there are a lot of casual fans in this city that would like to go to a football game and would like to be entertained and would like to say, hey, they won. That was a good time. They've lost all of those people.
And that goes back to they had it. It was coming back last year. And it comes to the decision of Trey Ford. And I feel bad for Trey Ford.
Yeah.
Because Trey Ford's it feels like right now as we're talking about him a little bit, like that kid that the parents coming up to all the other kids and be like, you play with my son type thing. I wonder what the perception is of Trey Ford in that locker room, or if they're able to cut this out when it comes to Trey Ford, that all the fans want Trey Ford. And that the press conference yesterday, they have to hint at Trey Ford is going to go in there. That's got to be a little rough, for a player to it's like a miniature almost Bronny situation almost. You feel like a little bit where it's like, why are you only going to be here because the fans really want you?
But that's created from the pylon that you just missed yesterday.
But also the flip side though is that he's won.
Yeah,
he's actually won football games, so it's not like this is a guy that was never played. And he's being forced into this, and we're all talking about Trey Ford because of this. But I do feel like whenever Trey Ford sees the field, there's a lot of extra pressure that's thrown on him because of how Chris Jones has handled this in my mind, where everyone is now so entrenched in their camps, whether there's a Chris Jones being entrenched in, this guy's not going to do it, or everyone else going, Chris Jones screwed up with Trey Ford, not playing for Trey Ford. Then when he goes out there, it's like if he throws one bad pass, there's the one side, not a quarterback, not a quarterback. Or if he makes one really good play, face of the league. And it's like, but
I think that's a little more nuanced.
We need to be a little more subjective.
It's not black and white.
No, it's
and
not.
That's where I think the messaging from the top comes into play.
Pressure, but now also the messaging of yesterday, where he's involved in the press conference, without being involved in the press conference, it adds to that. But I think it adds to that pressure of Trey Ford and our. I hope that doesn't really infiltrate the locker room where they sit there and look at Trey Ford if he goes in and be like, oh, he's only here because of the fans.
Well, that's up for Jarius to wrangle now. But I think it answers your question as well to what they were thinking behind the scenes. And I think that, again, the messaging to the locker room, to Trey, to everybody else, going out there when you're asked about him, calling him little guy and all this stuff. Like, again, all of that doesn't happen if Chris Jones isn't in that position. So I'm anxious to see what Jarius kind of does with him, but at the same time, regardless what he does with him, if Trey Ford doesn't take a snap or he goes out and takes 50% of the snaps on Friday, let's just get the messaging right so that you insulate him a bit. You don't isolate the locker room in any form or fashion with your slight jabs in between the lines or the gray areas.
Yeah.
It's a situation, yes, but it needs to be handled well and it needs to be communicated to the fan base in a form or fashion where you're not too much on one side, and that's what Jones found himself in on the end. And then you create this divisive atmosphere, which doesn't help anybody. The fans, nobody's winning.
People want to go watch Trey Ford. The casual fan,
yes,
they want to go watch Trey Ford.
Yeah,
I saw a bunch of Ford jerseys on my way from the LT. If
they could have sold a lot of those this offseason,
and they were selling a bunch at the end of last year.
Yeah,
like whenever
you released that third jersey, like imagine just different history.
Do you know the word count on Bethel Thompson? That's a lot of like
you released a new jersey and you have two Fords of those.
Yeah.
And also, just at the start of the CFL season, I remember sending the picture out to a few of you guys. The TCFL website had like a picture of 9 players, one from each team. Yeah. And right in the middle was the Elk player, and right in the middle was Trey Ford.
Yeah.
And I'm also just like, why is the backup quarter? Like, I love Trey Ford,
they get the memo.
But you can't use the backup quarter. But that's how much he drew the attention that even the CFL put him out there. And when they did the
right?
when they did the CFL top 50, Milt Stiga was like, I'm surprised Trey Ford's not in the top 50. Like, he has got the attention in that discussion.
Yeah.
And
I'll say one last thing about this Trey Ford situation, non-situation, whatever you want to describe it as. If there's a future for Trey Ford in Edmonton, I think one way, because obviously there's a damaged relationship that was created between Ford and Jones and whoever else was involved. If there is a true belief that he is the future quarterback of this franchise, one way to salvage that relationship would be for the new owner, when they come in, to have a talk with Trey Ford and say, listen, man, I've watched you. I believe in you. I hope we can start fresh, and I want to keep you here for a long time.
We want you the face of the franchise.
Yeah.
Here's a 4-year contract.
And I think that reassurance from the owner, because of all the turmoil, we don't know who the GM is going to be next year. We don't know who the head coach is going to be next year. Heck, we don't know who's replacing Rick.
Yep.
Sure, right? Like, there are so many changes that are going to happen or likely to happen above the quarterback.
Everything is going to change going into the next
but
season.
that's one cornerstone that you can...
If the new owner says, I'd like to talk to you for 20 minutes, especially if you got a guy coming in who's a diehard Double E fan.
Which I'm assuming.
Which we assume, with deep pockets, and says, hey, man, like, I appreciate what you bring to the table. I've watched this game for a long time. I might not be an X's and O's guy, but I've loved this league. I've loved this team. I like what you do, and I think that you're our guy moving forward. If that conversation were to happen, I think that might be able to keep Trey Ford in tow long term.
Well, I'm just going to go back to the arrogance of Chris Jones here, too. Like, for me, as the guy I was always frustrated with this, because I've envisioned it. I knew one is not going to be here next year, either Chris Jones or Trey Ford. It was one or the other was for sure not going to be here next year. There was no way that they were going to ever coexist. But other people, the reason Chris Jones did all this is he's developing Trey Ford. And he could stay. He could be the starting quarterback next year. But that's not what Chris Jones has shown. What Chris Jones could have done is still brought an MBT. Let's say he went this way, but got Trey Ford signed to a contract, an extension.
You say this is the plan.
Yeah. McLeod Bethel Thompson's our quarterback
again,
this year.
That's the messaging I'm talking about.
But
now
Trey,
you know.
We're going to develop you because we want you to be our starting quarterback in a year or two.
Now we know.
This is the plan going forward of how we're going to go achieve that.
Yeah.
And to further show that they're doing that, that's where you probably should have mixed in Trey Ford into some packages, into some games, not in just gimmicky plays, because it's he is a weapon. That speed is a weapon. Why not then start showing that process of, we believe in you. We're just going to get you there. It's just going to take you another year or so, Trey. Just believe in us. Like, trust us that we will get you there, because that's what we want. Again, here's the contract extension we'd like to give you. But that never happened. And Chris Jones could sit there and say when he signed MBT, no, they believe in Trey Ford, but that's all talk. That's all talk.
What signal are you giving to me that suggests that?
Exactly.
There's no messaging.
Of Chris Jones' time was he doesn't believe in Trey Ford.
Yeah.
And that's why, the amount of times this offseason I heard people say, no, Chris Jones believes in Trey Ford. Chris Jones is just developing. That's
Give me
not
one
there.
example that
There
showed
is
me
no
that he believed in
example
him.
of that.
This is not right.
Outside of year one.
Yeah,
Outside of year one when he actually put him as a starting quarterback a couple times. But
why do you do
the
that?
relationship changed.
Choice
the
or
relationship
necessity,
changed.
right?
And it wasn't there. So this could have Chris Jones could have went still with the way of MBT and Trey Ford as his backup and done it in a different way.
Messaging.
Where, he might still have a job. Where if they were 0-5 and he could be like, you want to know something? Now's the time to go to Trey Ford.
Yeah.
Because it's not working.
Yeah.
We're now going to fully develop Trey Ford because he's our starting quarterback in 2025. That never was there.
Yeah.
But the arrogance of Chris Jones was too much for him.
One last note, we're in a time now where we're in a quarterback flux in the CFL, right? The true stars, the best guys, Caleros, who's kind of not the same Caleros as before. Cody Fajardo's up there. And obviously, Vernon Adams Jr. is the guy as Eric refills his 2 hoots with the help of Matthew, if you're not watching.
Oh, he's helping, all right.
Oh, yeah, I can hear it. But outside of those guys, Trevor Harris is 38 years old. MBT's 37 years old. This is a time of refreshing quarterbacks in the league. And I don't know. Maybe there's a better quarterback out there, a young guy that we haven't heard of or seen or is just waiting in the weeds. But
I'm intrigued by Shea in Saskatchewan.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued by Shea. He's got in a 9-team league, and I think it would be, for any organization, depending on where you are in evolution, have a guy that knows, obviously, and plays, and that's ideal. But I mean, you have a couple of guys on your roster that get them in and spell them in. I mean, there should almost be, and I say this tongue in cheek, a requirement to start a guy X amount of snaps per season just to get people going. Because you get 2 injured quarterbacks in a 9-team league, well, then all of a sudden the whole thing's gone to haywire and everybody's, what a league, nobody's going quarterbacks. Well, you need to keep graduating that second class and keep guys going again. Trevor Harris, all these guys, the Claros, they're all come from that kind of Argonaut camp of former Argos QBs that have gone on and done some good things, but you need the next. And if they're not getting chances, then what are we doing? And if you bring in a smarmy vet and he gets hurt, then you bring in a guy with no experience. Oh, he sucks. Well, not necessarily the case. He just hasn't had the time and reps and everything to build in and get the Canadian game acclimatized. So you need a safe space for these guys to kind of come in and cut their teeth. But
who are the right now? Who is the next layer of quarterback that's been around but never really taken that step? Dakota Prukop's one of them. He's now become a short yardage.
A lot of short yardage guys. Caleb Evans, I think, in Montreal has been making a living off of that.
Nick
Dustin
Arbuckle, Crum still,
and Brown, who's did it, and now he's starting, obviously, in Ottawa.
But unless you're a hardcore, you don't really know of those guys.
But and this is where Chad Kelly's an idiot. He has to keep doing stupid things.
Yeah, right.
In every stop he's had, he's been stupid and he's done ridiculous things and things that you should never be doing.
Yeah.
But you're a talented quarterback, dude. You could be such a star in this league right now.
Between the years,
But you have the talent to be a star in this league with Vernon Adams right now. What are you doing?
Well, and VA's taken a long time to get to where he is too. So to your point,
and Chad Kelly hasn't taken that long. And that's the point. You have this talent. Stop being an idiot.
Yeah.
Take your $600,000 a year and don't be stupid.
Exactly. And focus on football and don't be a creep. It's that simple.
Listen, women
from the start.
You'll find you're a young, good-looking guy that's making pretty damn good money with a legendary name. The women are going to find you. That's just that's how it works. Don't be a creep.
This is the EST Hangout presented by Two Hoots Hard Iced Tea, Matt Iwanyk, Lieutenant Eric. Tom Gazzola with your portions of this hour of the Hangout brought to you by the Hive Product Marketing, official merch partner of Edmonton Sports Talk, promotional products that bring the buzz. Check them out, thehiveproductmarketing.com. They did amazing work, and people love the EST Golf Classic stuff we've done. People love
those mini sticks. Those mini sticks.
The mini sticks,
That was a great touch. I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, I didn't want to tell anyone. She showed me what it was, and I didn't give any heads up to people. But at the Golf Classic, we had a Hive on one side of those mini hockey sticks and Edmonton Sports Talk on the other. So great stuff. If you're looking for any sort of promotional products just for yourself, for your business, for an event that you're throwing, the hiveproductmarketing.com is where you're going to want to check. I want to get into this conversation, or this question from Calvin C. in the Nasty Chat. Do Jarius or G-Roy have to dramatically turn this team around to be considered for permanent position?
Yes.
Or you think new ownership wouldn't consider them? What do you guys think it would take? Like, how do you guys think going ahead?
Whenever you're talking new ownership, I mean, that's a chance that organizations don't always get to kind of have a full, clean slate.
Yep.
And that to whomever is the soon-to-be announced or whatever owners or ownership group, you would think that they'd want their own. Having said that, though, again, as I mentioned earlier, an opportunity for Jarius. More so, I think, for him than G-Roy, as in terms of acting a GM, making moves. I mean, it's very tough to make moves in season. I mean, obviously, the NFL stuff matters when Labor Day rolls around and maybe bringing some players in. But it's an opportunity for Jarius to flex. But it would take quite a flex to a BC Lions 2011 type of flex to because again, he hasn't been talked about this position at all, really, in the past, no interviewed for it or whatever. So it's an opportunity. But one that I really wouldn't bet on today and him getting that unless it's a complete. But they have the roster. They have the pieces that could. 2011 BC Lions. That's your example here.
That's what you're going for.
And how close can you get to that? They won the Grey Cup at home.
2023, 24.
If you make I guess the question would be, what would be a successful turnaround for Jarius this season? A playoff spot? I mean, what just in terms of the landscape right now?
Over
You're 0-5. You got to hold it
Over
together.
500. So 10 wins.
That would be incredible.
Or like over
Not
500
playoffs.
of the overall season or him?
Him.
Okay, so there's 13 games left, so that would put him at, what, 7-6?
7-6, yeah.
Yeah, I just don't know if
doable.
it's doable, but I think he'd really have to. He'd have to take this thing to places that we really didn't.
Because it's funny that you say that, because when I had Dusty on yesterday, he was almost more, G-Roy has a better chance of keeping the job than Jarius. And that's where, like...
Well, I think because G-Roy can't... he's been here and he can't really do anything. Like, I don't think he's going to lose himself out of a job here, but he just sticks around and everything's fine. Like, it's not like he can...
The question I'll have is, I don't know, does he have the eye for talent beyond receivers?
Good point. That's what we were talking about earlier, roster building.
I got, like, so how this is going to go is there'll be a new owner eventually. They'll have to hire a president of football operations. They'll bring their own guy in. And sure, Rick will be around to help with things. But that new person, it's their team now, and they've got to make that ultimate decision. Who are they going to want as a general manager?
Well, you don't have to. You get to. I want to use that terminology. You get to.
Sure.
This is almost...
Yeah, usually when people buy teams, they generally don't get the full blank slate.
You get the blank slate.
Interim, like a down the board.
And whoever this is that gets this, that really big, I think.
But so you bring a president, they got to figure out who their GM is first.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing. Is it going to be G or is it going to be someone else? That GM has to come in and decide who their head coach is. You got to do this properly.
Yep.
For Jarius to keep his job, I think I'm with Tommy almost. It would have to be over 500.
At least.
You'd have to really be watching this going, like, and in those 6 losses, walk-off type losses again, too. Like, if they're close in the losses, but then go win those football games, maybe you could sit there and be like, these players do play for Jarius. Jarius is the guy.
The nature of the results, I mean, if they now get spanked,
then
you know what I'm saying? Then I get it. But
he's not the guy.
no.
Think of the new owner, as Eric pointed out, you get to have an opportunity to start completely anew. Now, if things continue the way they are and this team doesn't get wins, then how far away from just starting completely fresh are you truly? But if you start winning and you see a growth in Jarius Jackson as a head coach and he's working well with Shivers and there's something there, and then you've got the buy-in from the players, and then if you see that G-Roy is adding talent, helping to support his coaches and the talent on the field, then you've got some building blocks that give you a bit of a head start. That's if there is success on the field. Yeah. If there isn't, and you're still starting basically at zero, you can just wipe it with a clean slate and get all new people and essentially start from the same position you're in.
And in terms of new people, too, I wonder, in CFL, I mean, there's a coaching opportunity for somebody, a coordinator. Okay, well, you look at that organization, but it's the same presidential, the same, right?
Yeah.
And again, this is a fresh new, so maybe the options of what they were, if this is last season, they get rid of Jones off season, okay, it's still ownership and turmoil, all this, who wants to take the job? As you mentioned, you get your table set, you announce this ownership group, individual, whatever it is, to a lot of fanfare. It comes off well, again, in the media perception. Now, who does that open up to around the league? Maybe some guys, coordinators, or whomever. It looks more professional. Here. Hey, they're.
I'm not coming into a position where there's going to be new ownership. They might come in and still grease everyone because they want their own people.
Now they're set up, and if they come calling me, I pick up that call more earnestly than I may have if this was still an organization in flux.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's an opportunity there to maybe you've announced the ownership. Now you can go out and maybe get what you may have wanted or identified what you couldn't have before. You're maybe a little hamstrung in that regard.
I still am going to dream for.
Dream big.
No, but the dream for me for president is going to be Sean Fleming still.
Sure.
Should have been the
But I think
president.
we can dream about any
2012. I'm just
position
gonna
right
throw
now
that
and
one
dream
there.
very big.
GM, I don't know who the next big GM is. Like head coaching, if I'm looking around the league, I do want Kahari to get another shot. I would have liked to. I wouldn't mind him as an interim this year.
But are you giving
to see what he
somebody
could
a
do.
shot here?
But I'm
You know what
not
I'm
giving
saying?
him a shot for a full time position.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I also I look at a Ryan Phillips in BC,
Yep.
and I really like to me I see like a Corey Mace situation because the benefit of Corey Mace I see in Saskatchewan right now too is the culture that he built.
Players
And
coach,
as Dusty points out with Chris Morris, I think I see that with Ryan Phillips. He comes in and gets people to buy in.
Corey Mace is a cool guy. Like I got to spend time
you
with
want to
him.
run through a wall for him.
Yeah.
And I was
That would be
asking
Chris
you too.
Morris.
Yeah.
Do you guys venture in terms of head coach position? Is it more important to have a tie into the market or the past or anything like
No.
that, or you're just going for the best?
I want somebody that's just going to win football games.
Fair enough.
And but then I look at a Jordan McSimic and I think I see what he's doing in BC and saw what he did with Nathan Rourke, saw what he's doing with Vernon Adams, and I go, him and Trey Ford. But could that work as a head coach or is he just an offensive coordinator? Like
He has a bunch of Edmonton content in that head coach. In that
Farhan said this morning too that he may feel that McSimic is more geared toward just as you mentioned.
The Richie Hall style.
People
of
can be
just your
coordinators, but you can't jump to being
Richie
a head coach.
Hall was never.
Maybe you don't
a good
even
head
want
coach.
it. Maybe he doesn't even want
Greg
it. Greg
Marshall was never a good head coach.
Exactly.
That's why I think Mark Killam's been passed for too long. That there's a reason he's being passed. The Elks can't be in a position to give Mark Killam a shot. But that's the other one of the guys I would look at.
But the Lions scenario, and as I said this morning, they're hosting the Ray Cup. They're having a great season.
Yeah.
If they go on to do it all, maybe McSimic does feel that maybe that chapter closes, because that would be a time for a move, and that would be interesting to see.
But then I look back and I don't know who that GM is.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a shame Ed Hervey Hamilton did all their changes this offseason, and Ed Hervey's now the general manager.
0-5.
But if he was still the assistant GM, he could have maybe brought.
Wouldn't that
Ed
be a
back
pop,
in.
though? He was my choice this morning. What a pop that would be.
Well, look, when Chris Jones was hired, I wanted to go one of two ways. It was either Sean Fleming and Ed Hervey tandem, or it needed to be Chris Jones to take over everything. And it was the Chris Jones take over everything. I wouldn't mind seeing the Sean Fleming, Ed Hervey tandem. Ed Hervey needs someone who he respects to be in the position above him.
Yep.
And if there's someone he respects, it is Sean Fleming.
Right.
Yeah,
but you set that table. Maybe that's the pull enough to who knows?
But I think you have to give a promotion to steal someone.
And sure. Give
So I don't know what that promotion
associate to the
assistant president
traveling
of football
secretary,
ops or something.
whatever you want.
Is that
But
what
I'm
that
saying,
is?
I think you can dream big, because if you get that initial upper echelon intact, I think you can go around the league and say, hey,
I'm just there's just no other GM name out there that I look around the Canadian
Brendan
football league
Taman.
and go, no.
he's still in Ottawa, eh? Isn't
Is
he?
he?
No, he's doing stuff.
Is that where he is?
Those
Sports,
guys,
though.
it's
Sports.
it's
Like,
like a boys
and
club. It
sports is always
The Elks are in a
recycling.
position though that if you're not recycling, you're going for that shot with someone.
I know. That's what I love about this.
Well, Danny McManus would be a name that's being thrown out there. He's around the Winnipeg organization. He's been there for a little bit.
Knows what it takes to win in that organization.
He's also been here.
Yep.
He's from this organization. Like he's got that little history.
And I want a little bit of mix of both. I want the current success and feeling it, but also that touch to the past. I think would.
Two great years with Danny Mac at the helm.
So what? Yeah, I hope they announce ownership soon.
It needs to be,
because I don't want any other I don't want to hear a lot from new ownership when it comes in. I don't want to. I want them to evaluate this organization. I want them to go out and
the sooner the better.
Focus.
Yeah.
And sooner the better. More, but I want them to announce a president. That's the one thing you could do right away. That's the one thing you have to do right away. If anything, you need to. We had Murray here, asked him what would you do if you were buying the team, and he says that opening press conference, I'm announcing the president at that time too. You should have that kind of locked in.
Yeah.
I hope they have that done. That when the individual or group stands there and with the media gets the jersey, gets the photo op, is also saying, I've hired this person, or in a couple days later is having their own press conference saying, this is the president of this team.
And this goes back
so
to
then
messaging.
we can focus on that person and go,
Messaging,
what are you
exactly.
going to do with this team?
But give us a clear picture and a definitive action, right? Like that. It just gets the fan base a little more confident in what they're spending their money on.
So I'm, it's going to be wild.
No, I love it. Dream big, though.
Of course.
Dream
Well, if I'm
big.
dreaming big, then it's Sean Fleming, it's Ed Hervey as GM.
I'm not saying your dreams will come true. I'm just saying this is the time where
I
you
don't
can do
know.
this.
I don't know. When Dusty threw Chris Morris as head coach,
I understand.
I
his thought-
immediately went no because.
Why would he leave U of A right now?
Well, there's that question.
Good point.
because this is his team.
Yeah, that's true.
And if there's here's the one thing I would say for Chris Morris to leave. While he never's won the Canada West yet or anything like that, he could still maybe go finish that this season.
But he's been building so long.
But he's built this
so
up,
long.
and he could walk away going, "I built up the Golden Bears. The Double E are my team. I'm on that wall. I'm a great to that franchise. That's my next
And
call."
just a player's coach. You surround him with 2 stud coordinators.
Well, that's
and let them cook on their own.
And that's what I was thinking. Like, can he go bring in players? But he wouldn't be GM. Like, and then that's where it's like
he's just there to get you run through a wall.
He's that coordinates player. You know,
they don't call him C Murder for nothing.
I know.
Yeah. And the whole Canadian thing, Mace is a Canadian. There you go.
Right, offensive coordinator. They run things, but Chris Morris fires
just
up that
the figurehead.
team.
Yeah.
Although I am always concerned because this is NFL, NCAA, U Sports, CFL, both of them. Going from college to pros is very different.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Convincing that kid to come play for your program or firing up that kid who's just,
the whole day-to-day
while they're a little bit of an
high
adult, but they're fresh out of high school, they're early adulthood, it's easy. Once you get into adulthood, though, and you get into the pros, and they've got mortgages, they've got wives, they've got kids, it's a little bit different.
Does the messaging translate?
And can you still do that?
He has a unique past history and resume where he's an educator first.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And he's dealt with kids, he's dealt with parents, and like that communication side. I've never met Chris Morris, but I would assume he's pretty damn good at that. And then to have the football acumen that he has is another boon to him. And then to be able to be the day-to-day coach. And then if a guy questions him, he can be like, well, my plaque is on that wall and I have
He has clout at the pro level. Yeah.
I have 3 rings or whatever, because I think he was there in 93. I can't remember for sure. But I have the rings. My name is on that wall. I contributed to this. Oh, by the way, I was a teacher and principal, and then I went to the university that had an absolutely piss-poor program that was left in shambles, and now it's competing for Canada West titles. Like,
He's not a Hall of Famer.
Elks Wall of Famer.
Yeah, but I thought I said Hall of Fame. Is he
I don't
how's
know
he
if
not a
I
Hall
don't
of
think
Famer
he's a
yet?
CFL Hall of Famer.
Well,
But
he's got to get in.
Okay, but
pardon
to
me,
your point,
Elks Wall of Fame.
Great career. But I said the Hall of Famer.
Okay.
3-time Grey Cup champ. I said he was Hall of Famer.
Great
but
career.
He's
Yeah,
not a Hall
that
of
was the
Famer yet. He better go in the Hall.
But that's a guy that would be like, if American young guy hotshot comes in, questions and be like, all right, dickhead, like
he's got the pages.
I've done all this. By the way, I have also did this, and this. Shut your mouth.
We use the Nick Saban example sometimes of the coaching from college to pro and how it's different.
Right.
And not comparing Nick Saban to Chris Morris, but you're right. He can turn to this and say, hey, look over there.
That's me.
Here's
That's me
some
holding
pages.
the trophy.
You want to watch some videos? Here we go.
Yeah.
So yes, it is different day to day in dealing with these guys, but I guess he would have the chops to justify.
That's
it.
where he's interesting, and I think gives him a leg up if that were to be an opportunity presented to him.
More so the next Golden Bear, Mark Killam.
Yeah.
Right now, we've talked about it.
Kill him. He was a former Golden Bear, but
I know, but
he's a stamp now.
The last merry-go-round, we did factor in that former Golden.
I know.
No, these things are important. But yeah, no, that time is coming gone. I think
there was a stat I saw just last week. I think it was of the universities, most players from each university in the NFL. Bears are pretty high up there. I think they're like 5th or 6th or something like that in terms of producing players in the NFL. And that's what Chris Morris has done. Like, and that's mostly offensive linemen, but he could go do that. But
that's another thing he could be like, I see that guy, that guy.
People.
I made them into what
But
they
why
are.
would I buy a jersey when they're all bouncing to the neck?
But and that's where, like, when Dusty said that, Jay immediately texts me and says, "Leave my guy alone," because he wants him at the Golden Bears. But like, I don't mind that as a head coach. If you have the right general manager and staff in place to bring the players, and then you get the right OC and DC.
And I think from Jay's point of view, when you're talking about the U of A Golden Bears program, if this were to happen,
you don't want to lose him.
You don't want to lose him, but I think too in the CFL we tend to forget it. And my example was here about the jersey is people this morning. Oh, the CFL guys come, they play a year or two, then they're gone. I think we sell ourselves short on the whether it's the U of A, whether it's the Elks, whomever, graduating players to a next level is something to be bragged about.
Yeah.
And I think when you're courting potential coaches, GMs, players, whatever it is, you say, hey, this program, like, so Morris jumps to the Elks, then the Golden Bears, and as Jay said. But now you can go to potential students and say, hey, this program has been built up by a guy who's left it like this. We've been graduating players. I mean, this is, and now it's something, and now people will look at this job opportunity as opposed to Morris did. I'm going to have to go rescue this. This is a great gig. This is something I want to be a part of. They graduate players, they graduate coaches. Success. Prestige, all that. These people go and graduate and go get other jobs elsewhere. That's fine.
Yeah.
But I think when you have a winning program, whether it's college, pro, or whatever, that attracts the right people.
Absolutely,
it will.
Text comes in via the Paris Jewelers inbox, 780-218-9999, says Chris Morris was the best teacher I ever had. There you go.
Make the call.
Amish Man 19 in the Nasty Chat says Harry Ainley was a good program when he was there. I think they were the hardest team to play against when I played back in the day. So, like, that's an interesting. I do have time. Like, it's funny though how this goes. Like, I have time for bringing back the former players, the double E players,
but in a right scenario.
Yeah,
situation.
but it's funny how like it can turn because the Oilers for so long used to do that too, but it didn't work, and it was the old boys club, and you rip the old boys club. But when it works, you go. When you bring them in, and you don't have the old boys club. You sit there and like, they know how it takes to win. They know the DNA of this team, and there's that fine border of. When does it become old boys club, and when does it come just these guys know the history and how to win, and you're bringing the right people to turn this around? The Joe Sakic's and the Steve Yzermans of the Avalanche and the Red Wings type thing.
Those guys win.
They've gone out and done
win.
it.
But you have to go in because the moment you don't win, it's old boys club.
Yeah. But when you're going to get a guy that's sharpening skates at the sports shop, that's old boy as well. You're drawing from that well again, as opposed to I think this.
Well,
yes,
I'm saying with the Oilers, it was Kevin Lowe and Craig McTavish. It was old boys club.
I know, but you're going through this. But none of them, and I know they've had success traditionally in the past, but I'm talking like, recency and all that. Chris Morris, this would be something where he's had success, and this would be a promotion or whatever. Like, I mean, it's not like you'd be looking around and saying, Chris Morris has been 500 the past couple of years, and we're just going to go with him because it's all we know. That would be an old boys clubbish move. But this would be a reward. It would be a promotion. It would be we like what you've done. We look what you've built, and continue this onward.
He's got a big year then at the U of A. It's a big year for the U of A no matter what.
Yeah.
But if he actually is interested in this job, you can't stumble this season. Because if you stumble this season, if you're a 500 university all of a sudden, then that
it takes the shine off.
It takes a little bit off that shine.
Yeah.
It's the same as Alonso with Leverkusen in soccer.
Yes,
him staying is a big deal.
It's a big bet on yourself, yeah.
But if they all of a sudden drop and
your stock you're
not jumping to Real Madrid necessarily.
You never get that high again.
You're not getting that next paying. So like this is where Chris Moore, don't lower your stock. If this is the job you want, we're just saying this. We don't know.
He could just say happily and politely, no, thank you. I'm happy at U of A.
Yeah, he likes that style.
Yeah. But I wouldn't to the old boys clubbish. It's not going to a well and having to get a guy that's in town and just for the sake of it. I think this would be seen as more of a reward or whatever.
The president, for the most part, though. To me, they have to have some sort of connection now to either the city or the organization.
A knowledge of it. Yeah.
Len Rhodes was an interesting. He had a resume.
Yeah, he was with Reebok.
He was with Reebok, but he didn't know anything about the Canadian Football League, and he didn't know the city of Edmonton.
Now he's in
Edmonton fighting league.
He lost. And Sean Fleming lost the job because he said he'd fire Eric Tillman, and the board didn't like that.
Well, that would have been the right move.
Yeah, but Len Rhodes. Like he didn't, and that's why Ricky Ray was traded because he didn't know that was such a bad trade, and he let it happen. And so
I told Ricky, I'm like, the day you got traded was such BS. When I'm on the sidelines about to interview him, and he just kind of gave it one of those like. Anyway,
more than words could ever say.
Yeah, and I was like,
Chris
thank you, Ricky.
Presson, I like the inspire. Like he had been around arena football. And so and minor sports, so he knew the promotion of trying to bump things up. So I didn't mind it. But there was also, I know, across the Canadian Football League, the full Canadian Football League, like an eyebrow raise going, why is an American taking over this franchise?
Yeah,
like not just any franchise of the Canadian Football League, the double E. Like that's was in like that the standard of
still
this
is.
Well,
historically speaking.
Historically.
Let's not throw
but why is an American now coming up to take this one? Victor Queelys was from the city.
Yeah.
You had that. That's for this next one. I want either someone who knows what they're doing, that's been around this city and knows this community and knows what this city wants, or is that person that knows the double E history that comes from it.
Yeah.
And that's where Sean Fleming, to me, nails all of it. He was the player, but he's also great in business.
But Quee was a cautionary tale to that because we all said, he's a local guy.
Yeah.
He has success in the fighting form.
Yes.
Like, you checked some boxes there that were...
Yeah, you're never going to have the home run higher.
But
like Sean Fleming, as much as I've thrown out his name for a number of years, because I'll never forget Dan Barnes writing the article in the Edmonton Journal in 2012 or whatever it was, saying he's interested. I'm like, that's the guy.
You got to hang it in your room.
I've been stuck with saying, that's the guy. But he could come and be awful too.
I know, yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
you never fully know. But like you can't be hiring someone that has zero connection
totally
to the city in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
They either have had to have been here and played for a bit and are now living somewhere else,
or read the history book, and
they're
get
from the
acclimatized.
city. Like they've got to know because that ultimately is such a major hire because you're hiring the GM.
Yes, and then just the
You gotta
messaging
figure out
again.
that.
If you bring a guy out of the blue who's like, "Oh, you got a football team here.
What's
hey?
this thing?"
Well, and Preston, yeah. I mean, that's you can't fault him for what he didn't know.
Yeah,
it's just he was put in a bad spot. If I get hired to run a roller jam team, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I take the job, I guess. But
They wedged him into a tough spot. I
then
had
he
a
got
chance.
COVID.
Yeah, I had a chance to talk to him a couple of times. I think he sincerely was buying into becoming an Edmontonian and understood the franchise.
He was
and
going to move
knew-
the family up here.
Yeah, he knew what he had gotten himself into, and it just COVID and a bunch of other
And then
stuff.
in the end, the reason he got let go with Sunderland and Elizondo, because they cleaned house that time. I
Yes.
remember reading that press, like, whoa.
yeah.
He didn't want to fire Brock Sunderland.
Right.
And it was, well, no. So then the board went, we don't trust you to do the job. You then also being let go.
Yeah.
So moral of the story is get
Hire-
that guy in that you trust and who, I mean, again, communication across the board. What's the vision? What do we want here? What do we want to communicate to the fan base? And
Got a little bit of Elks news. Not ownership.
more?
This is from the team just now.
They
The
cannot
Edmonton
be
Elks.
stopped.
The Edmonton Elks announced that Armando Sewell has been named the club's new defensive line coach.
Oh.
Nate O'Neill, who served as defensive line coach since the start of this season, has resigned. So Nate O'Neill is a Chris Jones loyalist.
Boy, I love this.
Are you
I lo-
joking or is this legit?
No,
that
well,
just came from her.
No. I know the Sewell thing's legit, but like the O'Neill.
No,
thing-
that's part of it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's part of
Jones had a lot of guys
No, and then
around.
people,
and-
players and coaches love Chris Jones largely. Don't.
Yeah.
And part of the news, that's the back-to-back.
Yeah.
It's in the same message from the Edmonton Elks media group chat. The Edmonton Elks announced that Armando Sewell has been named the club's new defensive line coach. Nate O'Neill, who served as defensive line coach since the start of 2024 season, has resigned. I've added the loyalist of Chris Jones.
We're purging,
Okay,
we're
okay,
purging
okay.
the loyalists here, eh? Bring them all out.
The loyalist of Chris Jones is leaving.
We'll find
and so
them.
it opened up a spot there, and Armando Sewell goes in. So by him resigning, also then there's no cap situation. They're
Right.
just replacing
Yep,
him in that.
that's good.
And
But
I'll-
that's a loyalist of Chris Jones going,
Sure.
I came here to be
Yep,
with Chris
yep,
Jones.
yep.
I'm gone.
I'm out. Good. And Armando, since he retired, this past
Was he
year?
a cop? Was he training to be an
He
RC
was
or
training to be
something?
that before he got
Yeah.
traded to Montreal.
Is that what it was?
I don't know
Yeah,
if it's
and I
still in the
think
case.
Thaddeus Coleman's still kicking in town, and he wants to be a
Thaddeus,
cop.
yeah.
Good, really good dude.
Yeah,
Having Armando, I really enjoyed Armando Sewell as an Eskimo.
Good low key messaging here, I'd say,
Yeah.
in terms of,
Yeah.
again, you're
Yeah.
bringing a
Well,
guy back that's led
yeah.
by
Nate
the.
O'Neill was hired on March 18th, 2024, they say. Oh, actually, they did announce their coaching staff late.
It was
Might have been
late
hired.
because remember we were
Yeah.
waiting and waiting and
Maybe
waiting.
it was hired a little
Okay,
bit.
and Armando was here, and he's not. He's fresh from
was here
playing
for
the
camp.
game.
Yeah, kind of in the same as Jarius, the same kind of era, I guess
Yep.
you can say. And
Okay,
I mean,
well,
I mean, look, yeah,
Bone
onward.
He was one
onward.
of those guys, right?
Yeah. Jones loyalist out,
That's it.
former player in.
Purge all those loyalists.
Purge 'em.
We're looking around for all of them.
But Jarius Jackson and G. Roy were Chris Jones guys, and they said,
But are
it,
they
yes.
loyalists? Or do they turn on him?
Oh,
The plot thickens.
Did they turn on Chris Jones? And is that why things happened so late
Oh
yesterday?
my goodness!
It's like a game of
Stop
Clue.
it.
Well, we had the
was
we
G-Roy
had
in the
coup.
kitchen with the
all
pipe.
We
along.
had the coup. The coup at Commonwealth. That's what occurred. That's why it took till 3:00 yesterday for the press
Oh
release.
my God.
Was that
You-
you had G. Roy and Jarius
once the book's released,
planning their coup,
Here we are.
and that's why the loyalist is gone.
Jesus,
And
was
now
him
there's the
all
big
along.
message to everyone else. If you're a Chris Jones guy,
Yeah.
we're gonna find you.
you're on the run,
Nate O'Neill.
hiding under tables now. The
joking
president.
about that.
That's all
joking
jokes.
about
Oh
that.
yes.
I don't want
Nobody's
anyone to.
Yeah. You just wanted to say coup in the hangout, hey?
We gotta
You
go.
finally got
I
it.
gotta go with coup and loyalist.
Oh boy.
This whole like 1700s type thing is going on. The new kings are in town.
Yeah, I mean, tri-corner
All right.
hats. I don't know.
That was good.
Oh wow! The Edmonton Elks, they're next in action Friday out in Ottawa.
Another thing too, you do it yesterday. You have a short week, albeit, but the same opposition.
Yes,
in a sense.
and it's
Yeah,
there for the
it's plenty-
taking.
it's-
The
you
prep
haven't
thought
seen.
is you get you're watching game film and saying this is when you do better.
Yeah.
When you
Yeah,
did worse
yeah.
against this, but
Elementary in
the
a
prep
sense.
of Ottawa was kind of already there.
Exactly, yeah.
So, it
it's a
does
good-
help in that sense. Green and Gold Kickoff Show live from Century Casino Sports Bar and Lounge, where every day is game day, just off Fort Road. Myself, Jay Milne, will be on the air at 4 o'clock for the Green and Gold Kickoff Show on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Tune in iHeartRadio as well as on YouTube on your clear choice for Edmonton Sports, Edmonton Sports Talk. We will be on for the post-game show as well, but we'll be watching the game there as well. So come and hang out with us in the sports bar where quesadillas are the daily special,
Quesadilla.
and the cheese and jalapeno smoky. It's the game day special as well.
That's what you're gonna ask, right? That's what I was all
No,
about.
but thank you for the reminder. Quesadilla sounds
With
really
waffle
good.
fries.
And vinegar, extra vinegar. Malt?
We tried.
All
No,
the
they didn't have
vinegar
malt
you
there.
want.
Bring
They
your
didn't-
own malt.
They didn't have malt, but they did bring the white vinegar. And we tried
want
it.
people getting
waffle fries do work with vinegar.
Yeah,
Jay
they
and I
soak
figured
it
that
in.
out in game
What's
one.
that in your pocket, sir? A bottle of malt? Trying to take it into the lounge.
I've got packets. Are we gonna? We were talking about maybe doing a couple watch parties this season. Is that still on the docket? Do you think at Century?
I would have to talk to the boys, but I think hopefully at least get
One
a
or
watch
two at
party
least.
in there.
I'd
Like
love
if
to.
not Labor Day, maybe if we're not going down.
Yeah, maybe.
Might be down Friday. Might have a watch party of my own at 7:30 that night because it is the doubleheader.
Oh, you're gonna stay for both?
No, I might have another one somewhere else, either
Oh.
mine or somebody else's house for that. But
I see
I
what
may
you're
come
saying.
down for the pregame.
Yeah.
Maybe.
And no one
That
else
would be
has-
fun.
No EST has joined Jay and I so far this season.
Oh, it sounds like Monday and Thursday night football.
I came to a few of those.
You did, yeah.
I did.
Yeah, I know you
We
did.
were at Hudson's.
I'm
for
not
Dick
naming
you
names.
guys- you
I'm
guys
not
were
calling
very
this out.
supportive.
We had a
Nobody else
watch
comes with
party.
me.
We had a watch party.
I blame myself.
Nobody comes.
I blame
but
myself.
also there have been home games, so I understand that people have.
Yes.
You'd rather be in the tailgate
Yes.
with Trev and Zach.
Boy,
That's
what
cool.
a tailgate it was
They have a great time.
on Sunday, boys. I got to tell you that.
Perfect weather. Perfect weather.
It was the Dustin Nielsen wheelhouse temperature of like mid 20s.
Yep.
A little bit of a breeze, no precipitation, which was great. The first two had rain,
Gorgeous
hail, the whole
day.
bit. The tailgate, I keep saying, man, this is a sleeping giant. And if I'm a prospective owner or somebody who the unannounced owner, I am looking at that tailgate and rubbing my hands with all sorts of glee.
Well, Chris Edwards, the producer of TSN, said
Yep.
best tailgate.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And for an 8-33 team, like
We need to get Jerry. Jerry said he'd come on. We need to bring in Jerry Haraxi.
Jerry
He's
was-
coming on next week.
They're
Good.
tents right
Perfect,
across
perfect.
from ours. It's a
Booked it up.
killer combination.
Jerry's going to be on next Thursday, I think.
Excellent.
Next Wednesday, we've got the EST draft of movie props.
Oh, boy.
I got to figure out, actually,
Don't you dare touch the
coming up soon.
Ghostbusters.
Next-
I heard what you were talking about.
yeah, well, it's gamesmanship, right?
as the host, I feel like I could throw something out there, a thought.
You are the host.
You can't use Toy Story stuff.
No, I said
animated,
no
right? It's not a
CGI,
prop.
nothing animated.
Well, that's
Thank
not a
you,
prop.
thank you.
Nothing animated
It's all-
makes sense. Yeah.
yeah.
That's,
I hear
that's
you.
not a prop.
Yeah, I'm
Like the
I
prop,
agree.
Prop to me is something you can go buy in an auction.
yes. Or
They're auctioning off now because the movie's over type stuff.
yeah, a physical
Yeah.
something you can
Object.
hold or
Yeah.
see or touch.
Next Friday, I got to figure out what we're doing for the hangout.
Why?
It's Nasty Bash, and my idea was
Oh,
maybe
snap.
could we take it to
Rugby club?
the home?
Fergie line one.
I got to go talk to him.
He'll pipe you in on the
Fergie.
hangout. Eh?
Messages have been sent out to annual Nasty Club members.
Some people have replied already. They
I've
said
got a
this
few.
morning. Gleefully, they said.
I've got the yeses and the nos. I've asked people to say yes or no either way, just so I could keep tabs of numbers.
Mostly S's?
Fair amount, yeah.
Good.
For planning this thing like kind of 2 weeks out loosely for most people.
Limited capacity too, right?
Absolutely, yeah. It's a hot
Only
ticket.
one person of EST has got back to me with numbers. I'm just gonna throw that out
Yes,
there.
and
That's it.
+1.
Not the yes part. I'm assuming you guys all better be there. It's a staff event.
Yeah,
I'm
obviously.
going.
I'm talking about the
I will
other
be there.
people. I don't
Yeah.
care about you guys. I want to know about I sent the text yesterday
I just answered you.
because I'm calling you out on it. And I don't want the answer right now. I can't mark it down on my computer.
Oh
I'm keeping
my
track
God.
of things. We could do this afterwards.
Do we still owe you money as well?
Yeah,
I do.
60 bucks.
Yeah.
Super ticket. Dusty owes me 40 for 50
He's-
50.
Yeah.
Where's my money?
He tells me he won't shut up about that. That's it.
Well, owe me the money. Give me the money.
Lebowski.
all the other golfers gave me the money. Are you better than the other golf? You better than the Nasties?
Talk to Dusty and then
You
he's
better
watching.
than the
How dare you
Nasties?
paint us in that light?
Well, the Nasties paid. What, you feel like you're better? I'm holding everyone to the same account.
Tax receipt.
I'll get you a tax receipt. Don't you worry. Although I think my nieces are watching. Hello, Hallie and Mila.
Uncle
I gotta
Matt.
take-
Uncle
I just got
Matt's
a
in
quick
the
text
Uncle
from my mom
Maddie's
saying
just,
that,
yeah.
the girls
Yeah.
say hi, so
Yeah.
hi
Clean it
back
up
to
a
them.
bit.
Is he as grumpy to us as he is to you?
Not to my nieces.
Okay, thank
No.
God.
Never to my
Not to my nieces.
They better be your
to
angels.
everyone else, absolutely,
Yeah.
but not to
Yeah.
They
my
paid
Okay.
you and replied to the Nasty Bash already.
I need someone to put me in the good home when I'm older.
Yeah, we all do,
So,
don't we? Hey, that's the
That's
thing.
You
Yeah.
take care of the people that are going to put you in the home. That's
Not
the way I
unless we're
look at it.
prisoners of war. Aha. That's what I'm holding out for. Why retire when you can do your prisoner of war?
PO dub.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
All right. Interesting.
On that note, sorry to derail the thing.
Well,
but,
Lars Y saying no email yet, Maddie. Are you an annual member? We're not.
it's very important too.
Because
yes.
I sent an email to all the annual members. Let's get to Road Warriors, which is brought to you by AccuSteel Heavy Haul Trailers, custom manufacturing of heavy haul trailers for mining, oil and gas equipment, and highway transportation. Quality, innovation, integrity, trusted by the leaders in the heavy transport industry. Get on the road with peace of mind for your large loads. AccuSteel.ca. Looking at the sports. Oh, my thing just went completely over.
That was the worst bounce you could have had, hey? Like, of all the bounces.
I can't get that one out.
Right under the chair.
You deserve that.
There's not a lot going on in terms of the road teams because there's not a lot of sports going on.
Well,
today.
AL or NL? I guess NL would be the road team tonight, eh?
The National League is on the road in
Arlington.
In the AL, so we got the All-Star game. Do you guys watch the All-Star game? Do you guys care?
No,
casually.
I was
This
going to
is
watch
the
the
best
Derby
one.
last night, but that anthem threw me off. I said, Danny, let's watch the Home Run Derby. This is great tradition. I turned on, the anthem goes, and I'm like, well, that's enough of that.
They
And,
played the whole thing on SportsCenter or whatever, and I'm like, is this good or bad? I can't tell.
Do you know the artist?
Tell me about this.
Well, I don't know.
I don't
have
know
no
anything
clue.
about it.
I'd never heard
Is
about
this
her.
someone of
She had some
prominence?
ripped jeans. She was a younger gal.
Okay, here's the question. If you were being told that you're going to do an anthem,
Yes.
would you be like want to have the worst anthem?
No.
Like, do you feel like
In
there's
2024, there's a
someone
bit
to
of
be viral?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
You get to go out there and be like, you want to know something? I'm going to butcher
I
this.
just hawk to her.
Beca-
You know, you go up there and hawk to her on the mic, and then
she
you're.
is a nice girl.
But she can't go
that
anywhere in
Hawk
public.
Tua
I can't
girl.
go anywhere in
I'll say
public.
this.
She's an angel.
I hope she gets as much money out of this as possible.
Sure,
Because she's fully embracing this 15 minutes of fame.
But
I
a
saw video
viral
of her
moment.
saying she
Yeah.
knows that she's only got 15 minutes.
Yeah.
If people want to give her money and people want to make her bigger,
Turn it into
You want to know
something.
something? They're the idiots.
Yeah.
Take
Yeah.
advantage of it.
Yeah.
I have no issues with her.
But last night.
But that's the thing.
Same thing.
I'm now starting do you like?
Absolutely.
It's 2024. I could go viral.
She
Everyone
threw
can
it.
talk about me. Everyone now is going to be
She
talking
threw
about
it.
I'll just go and make this awful rendition.
Yeah.
And I will be played also forever. I'll be
Absolutely.
with Carl Lewis. I will be with Roseanne.
She's in that. She joins that Mount Rushmore.
Yes.
of
Mary
anthems.
Carey.
Yes,
Ozzy
thank
Osbourne.
you.
You know something?
In 2024, how does your brain not go that direction?
Fergie.
Like, but
And it's not like you're just doing some game in an American Hockey League venue.
no,
It's the home run derby.
Yep.
You got a chance to
Texas,
do it
baby.
on a big stage.
Millions of people
And
watching.
yeah, you do a nice one. Okay, some people, that was a
Nobody
nice
cares.
anthem. You butcher it like that was. We're talking about it right now.
But what is she? That's what I don't understand.
I never really knew. I think she's a country artist, which is fine.
Well, that does.
But I didn't really
that
get
explains
any.
a lot.
I didn't get any country out of that.
But
Like
this is now you're trying to figure out who she is.
got you talking.
If she nails it, if she gets it done right, there's very few people. There might be some.
That's
That's
totally
a nice
the
voice.
play, yeah.
But she butchers it, and everybody goes, "Who is this person?"
Yeah.
I bet you if you find her Instagram, if you compared yesterday to today,
Oh,
it's gone up.
100%.
Guaranteed.
I want to see her live. How she performs. Is this it? Is this the full deal?
Is that how?
Is that
yeah.
how she sounds?
But
She's
like
gonna get the
rec-
redemption. Somebody's gonna hire her for the redemption.
the Hamilton Tiger Cats will.
But the redo
When
it.
that, I love it.
Like
Great
Greg
cup.
Bartholomew.
Bring her in.
Yeah.
Actually, honestly, that team should the Elks should go do that for that Sunday against Hamilton.
Yeah.
We've got the anthem singer.
Remember
We're
that
gonna do
girl
the American one.
Why
We're
not?
gonna do it. And-
That's CFL, baby.
and
That's what I
everyone-
want. Yeah.
Everyone, like the U.S. is gonna be like, oh, she's doing. They'll throw out that video.
Yeah, absolutely, they would.
Make it happen.
Is that why the rec laws threw the anthem at the All-Star game?
Can I-
And are they going to America's Got Talent
Can
now?
I
or
get
something
mad
like
at the rec laws and
Please,
stuff?
yes.
I'm
gonna go to the washroom.
I texted Yaremchuk because he knows how upset I get, and he just I love how mad you are right now about this. This was a few weeks ago.
Okay.
They were on American Idol, and they had this whole sob story about them on the farm and getting on to American Idol, and they got the full edit, like the proper good edit.
This
cut.
is recently.
This is just a few weeks ago.
They're
or something
already
like that.
established.
They have a record deal. How the hell does a group that has a record deal make it on America's Got Talent and being shown and getting the nice cut?
And they're being a sob story?
100%. It was it was ridiculous. They've been shoved down our throats in Canada for far too long. They were on CFL broadcast for far. I don't know.
Yes.
I don't know whose family member has a position at either Bell or some record label that they've been able to get them into the number of years they've done CFL. But they were on America's Got Talent, even though they've got a record deal.
They've
And
done
they were being
collabs with
praised.
big country music. I think they
I
did a song
know.
with Dean Brody. Even I know who Dean Brody is.
It
And
makes no sense. It was. I saw a clip of it on Twitter, I think it was, and I was losing my mind because I'm like, this. How? You have a record deal. Why are you on America's Got Talent? And why are you getting this cut that you're getting right now?
It makes no sense.
It was awful. I'm not claiming them as Canada. They're not ours. If they are in Nashville and singing at some point, they're not Canadian.
I wish them success because I love seeing Canadian success stories, regardless of what form of entertainment, music, sport it is. Anything. Anytime somebody from here goes and has success on a bigger stage, I applaud and am happy for them in general. Unless they're absolute POSs. But I don't get the sense that the rec laws are. I'm sure they're lovely people. But I don't understand this. You're already established. You're an entity. I'm assuming you're doing all right. To go on, why would
Heidi Klum posted it.
Why would America's Got Talent be like, we're gonna take this already established Canadian duo band that has I'm assuming decent following, and we're gonna promote and what is their sob story?
Still the Reckless?
Yeah.
The Heidi Klum posted the video and her tweet was, "That's how you do it. I can't wait to hear more from the Recklaws." And then it's from an America's Got Talent tweet where it's a sibling band, the Recklaws, brings an emotional original. And there's a video of them on their farm and a bunch of things and singing. It's like that makes no sense.
No.
And it frustrated me. And even Uremchuk, when I texted him this, because this was, I think I also sent it to you and JMO. It was June 12th. I found it. He even said, "I just love how angry this makes you." And I was very angry. I can't even read my text that I sent to Uremchuk because I can't say it on. Yes. I was very frustrated.
As it should be.
I was not happy with that. Thank you for bringing up the Red Box and getting me angry.
All together now, boys. Long live the night.
I love that track.
We played it at 1260 just to mess with each other. We'd have Marshall Ferguson coming on, and I'd play it for Dave, just because we're playing CFL, and Long Live the Night would play, and Dave would just stare at me blankly and be all upset with me.
First and 10.
Trev's in the nasty chat saying amen. Do you not like the Recklaws, Trev? I don't know where he is now. Why'd you say amen in the nasty chat?
Oh, because you're preaching about the band. That's America's Got
Yep. Perfect. Thank you. He's on board.
Confirmed.
He's on board.
How much money do you think they pay to keep themselves in the spotlight? Annually?
I think they I'm going with they have a family member.
They have an incredible talent agency.
Their uncle has a high position at Sony Records or whatever it is.
Nepotism, yeah.
And he's saying if you want this band, you got to take the Recklaws.
Absolutely. There's something. There's something we don't know.
I don't buy into it, and it frustrates me.
They're not the touring.
It gets me more angry than Trey Ford
years on the road.
Starting. How to go there?
They have nearly 1 million monthly listeners on Spotify. How are they competing for this show? That comes from Aiden via the inbox.
Thank you.
That's what I don't understand. Isn't that defeating the purpose of America's Got Talent?
Pay to play.
You're supposed to uncover these hidden gems.
Nope.
But that's already
America's Got an uncle in high places.
Thing.
That's what it should be called.
I think that really probably is a good way to just behind the scenes of how America's Got Talent works.
It's all a sham.
It's all a sham.
But we get to see Heidi Klum.
Yeah, but she likes the Reckless, so I'm mad at Heidi Klum right now.
Okay.
Not happy.
She won't be in the Hangout anytime soon, eh?
The Reckless and Brett Kissel.
Yeah, it's the same type of vibe there.
I like Brett. He's a friend.
There's nothing else going on sports. I don't know the guy.
I like him. He's a good guy.
No other. So Rangers taking on Man U on Saturday in a club friendly.
Hello.
Interesting.
Gareth Southgate out, hey? It ain't coming home.
England's moving on. Well, he steps down as the manager.
Yeah.
I will say, as much as hate as he got from England,
took him 2 straight finals.
And the fact that his play was quite boring.
Yeah.
He got to 2 Euro finals.
And he bent to the slightest media pressure.
He got to the semifinal
I'm gonna need
of
to
a World
finish
Cup.
that now. I'm just kidding.
He was a successful English manager.
True.
They have not been there's no manager since they've won the World Cup, whatever it was, that has been as successful as Gareth Southgate. Do they need a new voice and a new person? 100%.
Yeah.
But in the end, his time was, I would say, successful. He got to 2 straight Euro finals.
Yeah.
Never done that before.
But the bar is quite high with that nation, as you know. So I would assume. I think there was early rumblings saying they want to bring in somebody that maybe knows more about the Premier League and that type of player.
The names right now.
I've seen Tuchel and Pochettino.
Eddie Howe.
Yeah, Howe's another
Potter.
One. Potter, yeah.
Those are the big ones.
Potter, I could see taking it. English guy, knows the Prem, knows what it takes with the mentality of a lot of those guys. That could be one.
Also, I saw I think the Spanish coach is maybe interested in the U.S. men's national team job.
The U.S. job is funny because Americans will tell you everybody wants it, but then they'll end up signing some guy that coaches U11.
Rafa Benitez might be interested.
Sure. Well, to my point. I love Rafa, but I mean, he ain't doing anything. Go on and hire him.
The FA is going to be interested. They have hired an Italian before, Capello. So they've gone away from an Englishman.
Capello's interesting. Even I know.
Oh,
him.
The English FA. Yeah, okay, yeah.
The
no,
FA has
absolutely.
done that.
I think they've opened
I would be rattled if Italy never hired an Italian manager.
Yeah.
If Germany never hired a German, I'd be rattled.
It'd be weird.
We've seen other countries. Portugal's hired a Brazilian. We've seen that happen in other spots. England is one that you'd feel like, well, they're going to hire an Englishman, but they've gone away before. So Tuchel or Poch.
With all the star
Does make
power
sense.
that roster usually commands and has, I maybe
If
one
I'm
of those
England,
guys.
I want Tuchel.
Yeah.
A club manager.
And he
Or
wins
a
tournaments.
cup. He's a cup guy. He's a cup guy.
Absolutely.
He's a
knows
cup
what it
guy.
takes. He'll get you
Pochettino-
those 2 finals. He's probably getting you through.
If they have a choice between Tuchel and Pochettino, it's easily Tuchel, but they'll take Pochettino even though he's never won anything.
Which
and they
I
won't
love.
win anything.
Which
and
I
they
love.
still won't win something.
It's coming
That's how that's going to play fully.
It's coming home.
That's
I low key love that.
well, it's fun after major international tournaments. It's fun watching the moving pieces of the international jobs.
Yeah. Well, now the
And we've got a
transfer
couple
window
big
is
ones
really
now.
open now.
Canada's
too,
got theirs figured out, but now we get the couple of big
Yeah.
ones with England, U.S. as well because
Watch
the
them
media
squirm.
and just well, they're a lot of their fans think that they'll just hire the LAFC coach, and they're not happy about that one.
You guys
God,
are
I
getting a
love it.
lot of traction via the text line about this soccer talk.
Good.
Southgate, new USA manager. Also, Southgate is the Ken Holland of the NHL. Lots of hate, even though they made it to the finals.
Well,
That's
but
from
they-
Nico's dad.
Well, they made it to they have a lot of talent, but you could argue that Southgate and some of the argument is he never got the best of it.
could've
Albeit
got
making
more.
it to could have got more. They made it to these finals. Let's be honest here. This tournament, at least, with a generous siding of the bracket.
Yes,
During their group play, they were criticized, and I think Southgate too. Which again, soccer in England, like hockey here, and I think he bent to media pressure and fan pressure a little too much to a point where he really didn't know what his standard was anymore. He's kind of, you need to dress this guy, so he'd do it, and then that would go against an initial thought that he had, and I think at the end of the day, he really didn't have a position or really a theme.
well, he had some amazing players, but he never seemed to get the best out of all the players.
No, you should be getting those
But
are the best
he-
players.
He found the way
individually,
to make them worse almost,
in
but
a
it
sense,
worked.
yeah. So
Outside of actually winning it. What's so funny?
Pat, about the Rec Laws, sort of sidetrack, says this sibling duo has faced hard times, including playing shows at the Sky Dome.
yeah, and the
And at
whole
the Grey
like.
Cup, I think here in Edmonton they did it. They did like
They've done multiple Grey
they
Cups.
did the pregame or whatever.
Yeah.
And they're farmers or what?
They were farmers. They
From
come
where?
Land. It doesn't-
Toronto?
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's
I mean,
They're
look,
two very good-looking young farmers who have beautiful voices and can play music.
and their hands are smooth as silk. I think I speak for all of us in this room. We're all Western Canadian boys,
Yeah.
and we're a largely Western Canadian audience. The whole Ontario farming country music, it doesn't. It falls
jive.
a little flat. I know what you're trying to do, but it just don't get there.
I understand this.
Exactly.
And I'm
You're an urban boy.
I'm an urban boy.
Yeah. It's all fake. It's
all a
faux.
joke.
It's all faux.
It's all a joke.
Faux pas.
If you're tuned in right now on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button. We're
so close.
31 people away from 9,500.
We're so close. We're gonna get to
So we're
10,000
getting
by the end.
well.
of
The
summer.
hope is year one, and the anniversary is September 6, 2024 of EST. It'd be really nice to be at 10,000 after year
yes,
one.
We'll get a
would be.
cake.
Sure.
It's worthy of a cake. That would be a cake day.
I said to the boys because we celebrated, I think 7,000 on the socials.
You said no more
And I
celebrations.
said no more celebrations.
Very big
I
of
was
you
the
to
one
admit
that
that.
said
Very
no
big
more
of him to admit that.
Very
Yeah.
big of
I was the one that said we're done with these celebrations. Let's get to 10 and have a nice celebration of 10. Let's do it.
I'll do face painting in the parking lot.
but what
like
we
we'll
need-
have a carnival atmosphere. Type
Can we
of
do
thing.
tattoos?
anything? Dunk tank, we'll do it all.
We should get EST.
Yeah,
temporary
rub-ons.
tattoos.
Yeah.
Tattoos, yeah.
We should maybe look into that.
wanna say tattoos.
Have to check with Chelsea, the Hyde Product Marketing. But maybe we'll bring the Rec Laws for a concert.
Oh, no,
could you imagine?
they're on
In
AG.
the parking lot.
We'll give them a chance. We'll give this up and coming band a chance. Hey, do you want to come play the Nasty Bash?
We'll play the EST stage.
Yeah,
The Red Claws featuring Fergie's prostate on bagpipes. Give me that collab right now. I will pay whatever you want. Holy heck. How have we not thought about this before?
But to get there, we need to get to that 10 grand. If we don't get to 10 grand, or 10,000
off.
by the start of year 2, we're not celebrating 10.
We're not celebrating.
I'm not letting you guys celebrate 10.
No
Fine.
dunk tank, no face painting,
Nothing.
no
I'm
Red
canceling
Claws.
No tattoos.
I'm canceling this all. I'm canceling everything. So if you want the boys to be happy, if you want the boys to have a celebration,
Please, sir, make us happy.
click that subscribe button.
Yeah.
We're closing in at 9,500 and then only 500 to go after that.
Boom.
So there
We
we,
can
go.
do
Just
it.
want
We can do it.
Well, better. Otherwise, that cake's going to be returned.
It's gonna go bad.
Also, I do have to throw out one props.
To whom?
I need to find his name.
Oh,
Paris Jewelers inbox.
I met
Nasty
John
Joe.
the bread man earlier.
Yeah,
Shout
he
out
was
to
in
John.
early.
Hello, John.
He won the kind of Visa trivia
this
today.
morning. I think
But he
sets a
also had
record
won
for
something else too.
Yeah.
A couple
he had
weeks
other
ago,
Yeah, text of the day.
but like he literally won kind of each and then it was here. He's like, "Oh, when did you win today?" "Oh, okay,
Sweet.
Congratulations to Ivan Berthrow. I'm pronouncing that wrong.
Yeah.
Ivan B.
7th round pick of the MLB draft, 212th overall. The Chicago Cubs selected the outfielder. He is a former Edmonton Riverhawk. The first time a former Edmonton Riverhawk has been drafted to Major League Baseball.
Round of applause.
Congratulations to Ivan. Sorry for butchering your name there.
Berthrow?
He joins Shane Bieber in a rest
the
from
name?
the West Coast League.
Brett
West Coast
Throw.
League has graduated some good players into the MLB.
Played a key role in the Riverhawks' 2022 inaugural season, finishing among the team's leaders with 5 home runs and 21 RBI.
Great to see.
And that is fantastic. And it is a system that does provide and create MLB players. And the Western League is affiliated with MLB.
They'll be carrying the All-Star game tomorrow from Bellingham on MLB TV, whenever you can find Major League Baseball and what they broadcast. West Coast League will be featured. 5 Riverhawks as well taking part in the All-Star game. So This is a great story here. This is a guy that was in early. He's getting his comeuppance. You've seen how the franchise has been built, the fun that it has, and now it's a successful team. 5 All-Stars on MLB.com.
Thank you to everyone for tuning into the Hangout.
Could you say Trey Ford one more time?
Well, I am the president of the Trey Ford fan club, so let's get Trey Ford. Let's get him into games. Not starting, but let's get him into games. Jarius Jackson, I believe in you, because if you don't, I'll be upset, and I will say it.
Don't let him down.
Show.
Don't let him down.
Chris Jones let me down. I was a big Chris Jones fan. I defended him going to Saskatchewan. I defended him going to Cleveland. I defended his hiring here in Edmonton. I defended the first couple of seasons.
I'm with you.
And
Let us down.
he changed. He turned his back on me. I didn't turn my back on him. He turned it on me.
Now you're going and getting all those loyalists out of here.
Coming up, that's where I'm heading next is the Commonwealth to go find any loyalists. Coming up next, it is the Lock Shop with Dusty and us, and then it's 2 guys and a goalie, Gager and Dusty today. Maybe Jeff Jackson does something else like he did yesterday.
I doubt it, but okay.
Just dials into the show.
Hi, guys. Just to let you know.
Maybe that's
I'm
what he
doing
does
this.
today. Yeah.
On behalf of Tommy, Eric, I'm Matt. Thanks for tuning in to the EST Hangout presented by 2 Hoots Hard Iced Here and your clear choice for Edmonton Sports Talk. As we said, Lock Shop coming up in just a few minutes. Don't go anywhere.
Let's go. There you go, right in front of the camera.
First-time guest, long-time listener, fan of the original draft commissioner.
Welcome to the EST Hangout presented by White Claw Hard Seltzer. The difference is clear. Matt Iwanyk, Tom Gazzola with here. Joining us today,